This is Matt Brown, and you're listening to Just a Good Conversation. I have a soft spot for college baseball, and after 2 years of watching UCI baseball coach Ben Orloff at the helm, I knew I liked his style. Being just 35 years old and dealing with young teenage men can always be a challenge for a coach. Ben loves baseball, and it shows during a game, as he is calm and collective, whether it's a two-base error or a two-run homer. I wanted to see what makes him tick and where Ben gets his love for the sport of baseball.
You know, when I went to elementary school and middle school, not a lot of the kids there played baseball where I played at Santa Susana, and I always fit in best with baseball. And so it was really cool going to high school and you're going to class and hanging out with people that are on your baseball team. And so high school just solidified that kind of love and passion that I have for the game of baseball and kind of, what it's brought me. And Simi Valley was really special too.
I'm Matt Brown, host of Just a Good Conversation. Take a listen to our archives. My guests have ranged from professional boxing cutmen, farmers, and photographer Wyman Menzer.
Every day when I wake, I'm thinking, what can I do today that's going to be an adventure, no matter how small it is, if it's a major life changer. I just want to be able to accomplish something by the end of the day.
Go to justagoodconversation.com for all our archives. Let's take a quick break for a sponsor before diving into my conversation with Ben Orloff. With baseball playoffs winding down, I get to sit down with a skipper who I feel bad for that has the time to take this with me. You should be sweating your ass ready to be playing baseball. Ben, how in the hell are you?
Hey, I was sitting on my couch watching all the good teams play on TV last week. I think that's our punishment. We weren't new dead period. We weren't able to recruit this last week, and so we were all the coaches whose teams weren't good enough got to sit on the couch and watch all the good teams.
Do you guys get together in a Zoom meeting and talk to each other about the playoffs and who's playing?
That'll start next week when we start recruiting, and it's the Super Regionals. We'll all be hating life even more watching the really good 16 teams.
Who do you like right now in those 16 teams?
Tennessee's obviously really good. Stanford, having gone to that regional last year, I think they got some mojo going right now, and kind of how they came back to win Monday night against Texas State. Them and Oregon State are the two teams I know the best. So it'll be interesting to follow. I love watching those games and just kind of seeing what the good teams really look like. You don't get to see those teams a lot during the season because we're too busy playing. And try to put yourself in that position of, how would you handle this situation or that situation? And so it's a lot of fun for me to watch in spite of the fact that you'd rather be playing.
Right, you'd rather be in a uniform. And the Super Regionals are where a lot of interesting upsets happen. There's been a lot of Vanderbilt number 1, 53-7, and they don't even get to Omaha. And then sometimes you get a Coastal Carolina, and you're like, where are they? Are they in Carolina?
Oh, yeah. This is the I'm going to Stockton tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And this was, I was there in Stockton at the same event I'm going to this weekend where Sam Cohen hit the home run for Santa Barbara to beat Louisville. Mm-hmm. I remember exactly where I was sitting, watching my phone, not the field close enough when he hit the grand slam to send them to Omaha.
I know, that's crazy when that happens. Tell me this, and I could not find it in my research, but when did you start to play baseball? You were a little guy? You were a T-ball guy?
Yeah, I started really, really young. Probably before that. I was born in Santa Monica, but we lived in Van Nuys when I was really young. And I remember a little bit of it, more from stories my parents tell, but I used to just throw the tennis ball off the garage. In the morning before school, throw the tennis ball off the garage, field it, throw it off the garage, mix in one off the roof to catch a pop-up, come back home after school and do the same thing. And I remember enough that I loved doing it. My parents tell the story, and I have to believe it's true because they're honest, that we went through 2 garage doors from me just throwing the tennis ball off the garage. So it started really, really young for me. And
that is parents' love right there, to let you beat the crap out of their garage door just so you can sling it.
Yeah, and I think my dad was teaching photography at an adult school right by Pierce College, and I believe he had me go try out for this little league right across from where he was working, but you had to be 5. I was 4, I think, but was good enough to be in it, and they called me off the field because I was too young and I couldn't try out. So I've been playing for as long as I can remember.
Do you get the love from dad? Was dad a player and like throw with you in the yard, or grandpa or mom play? What was the?
Yeah, my dad played. I don't really remember like how it got started with me. My dad played in high school. My dad played fast pitch. He went to the Maccabea games in
Right.
Israel a couple times for playing fast pitch softball. But I always knew he loved the sport. His dad loved the sport. He played softball every Sunday in LA until he was like 89, 90 years old. He'd go out there on Sundays and play slow pitch. So I think that's where it started. But yeah, my earliest memories are playing, and I remember even pretending to take my lead off in the living room, watching a baseball game, like practicing steel jumps in the living room off John Smoltz or somebody.
Were you a Dodger fan growing up in the Valley, or were you like one of these odd kids that decided I like the Diamondbacks?
No, I don't. I think I don't really had a team. I don't think growing up. We went to a couple Dodger games as we got older. Kind of became an Angels fan maybe.
Okay.
We used to go to the college games a lot. My dad had a friend whose kid played at Pepperdine in the early 90s. Chris Martin was the kid. He's a lot older than me.
Yeah.
My dad knew his dad, but Coach Steve Rodriguez was on those Pepperdine teams.
Okay.
And so we used to go to Pepperdine in the early 90s. When we moved to Simi Valley when I was 7 or 8, my dad met Coach Batesole at Fresno State at like a back-to-school night at our elementary school because he had a daughter that was the same age as my sister. And so my dad met Coach Batesole, and then Coach Batesole used to let us come to practice. And so we were like, where we lived in Simi to Northridge was 15 minutes. And so we used to go watch Northridge practice, go watch their games. And college baseball was perfect for us because it was cheap,
Right.
free. It was easy to get to. And
Sure.
Adam Kennedy's playing at Cal State Northridge. And so I think that's kind of, how that got started.
And I mean, between looking at Pepperdine's field and looking at Northridge, there's a bit of a difference as a young kid.
Yeah, there is for sure. The scenery's different, but hey, I remember. Adam Kennedy led the country and hits 2 years in a row with 132 and 128. So when I was that age, he made Northridge look really cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, what did you take to when playing? Were you good at the field? Were you good with the bat? Did you play all over the place? What was your position?
I don't think my skill set ever changed from 5 to 25. I could play defense. I always liked to play defense. I played in the infield even when I was young. I think from throwing the ball off the garage forever, I got good at catching the ball and throwing it accurately. I pitched when I was young. I quit pitching when I was 12 or 13 because I couldn't throw very hard. And I think the offensive stuff always came a lot later for me just because I was kind of undersized always and lacked strength. And so I could always, kind of, as a kid, about the skill set not changing that much. I never really struck out. I could hit the ball. I could hit the ball in the barrel, but not for much impact. And so that's kind of what my game even when I was really young.
Yeah. And then, you played in high school, I saw. CIF champion.
2004 CIF champion. Simi Valley High School. Yeah, I had a great high school experience and played my last 3 years for a guy named Matt LaBelle, who's coached a couple places. He's the athletic director now at Camarillo High School. Great guy. And yeah, my junior year we won the CIF championship. Play at Dodger Stadium. It was a first and third like steal and stop, and I throw the guy out at home to end the game. We dogpile. Our catcher was a 4th round draft pick of the St. Louis Cardinals. And it was a great playoff run, and it was a lot of fun.
I saw some really bad old digital photos of it. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it's 2004. And then my brother won the CIF championship at Simi Valley in 2008 too. So it's pretty cool.
In high school is that weird athletic time where you either solidify your love for the sport or it can kind of be crushed either between a coach, parents, distraction, girls, whatever. For you, was that a solidifying time? Like, I love baseball. I'm not going to play football, basketball, wrestle. Was it just baseball?
Yeah, it was just baseball. And I think high school was so great for me. I've never really thought about this stuff besides you asking about it. When I went to elementary school and middle school, not a lot of the kids there like played baseball where I played at Santa Susana. And I always fit in best with baseball. And so it was really cool going to high school and like you're going to class and hanging out with people that are like on your baseball team. And so high school just solidified that kind of love and passion that I have for the game of baseball and kind of, what it's brought me. And Simi Valley was really special too because we lived 5 minutes from there and I had a key Sorry if this is not supposed to be. I had a key to the clubhouse that we had. I had the key to the batting cage. And it was great because my dad was always available to take us there and do it, and my brother. And there was a little brick wall right behind the fence that, we'd hop this brick wall and go hit and go take ground balls and get on the field. And so we'd be there all the time. And so my high school experience was really, really cool.
Were you thinking at any point like, okay, college for me, or if I get drafted, I'll go minor league?
That was never going to be an option for me.
I mean, were you drafted?
No.
Okay.
No. So it was, I don't think I knew, I don't come from, my family was never super wealthy. I think what we lacked in that stuff, we always had time to do, play baseball. And it was great. And so we never really did much travel ball or traveling or that type of stuff. It was always just baseball. And I probably, it's not like how things are now. I wasn't thinking about college when I was 15 years old. I wanted to be a good varsity player. And so the draft never was a thought in my head, not one time.
Okay.
And I wasn't good enough either. But it was just about playing and being a good high school player and trying to win. And then maybe after my junior year was when like the college thing started to happen a little bit. And that was really the first time I thought about it.
Then what's that process, that recruiting process for you? People start knocking, or did you go to knock on their door?
I think we sent some emails. I don't really know if anything ever came of those. I remember Santa Clara was the first school that I ever talked to. I remember we drove up to Santa Clara and visited the campus, and I kid with my dad, and I said, we had no chance to afford to go to Santa Clara. But just talking about, it's what I deal with right now, just kind of the naiveness to the recruiting process, and you don't know any better, and the kid wants to do best, and the family wants to do best for the kid, and they don't know what they don't know. I remember there was always a Thanksgiving tournament that we played at Moore Park College that I think during that time I think the high school coaches couldn't coach during that segment of the season. Kind of like in summer, the high school coaches used to not be able to coach. And so I think my dad and some other people might have been helping out. And I think somebody came to the fence to ask, hey, who's the shortstop? And I think that was like the first time that anybody knew who I was. I played a little bit of scout ball with the Mariners in the South Bay. The games were played, the Torrance area. And I remember Sergio Brown coming to some of the games and making contact with me when he was working here at Irvine. I think that's really kind of what started the recruiting thing was I went to a camp at Stanford and they told me I wasn't good enough and they didn't want me. So I think Sergio Brown coming to my scout ball games was kind of where, the recruiting thing started for me.
Right. It's an interesting thing people don't understand. Like, baseball's not like basketball or football. There's not everybody gets a scholarship, everybody. And especially then, it was pieces. You got little pieces. Some guys didn't get pieces of that scholarship. It's very rare if somebody got a whole scholarship. So for you, when you're looking at schools, and if you're not sitting there going, oh, my dad's the CEO of, Kentucky Fried Chicken, you start to look at those numbers like Santa Clara, and you look at your dad and go, it's going to cost us $70,000 a year.
I think we were too naive to even know that. I've told him since. I said we had no business we shouldn't have even gone there. Like that wasn't going to be an option. But I don't think we even. Again, we didn't know anything. As you're some high school player and a college likes you, like of course you're gonna have interest.
But you were the first, right? So there was no other child ahead of you that your dad went through that process and said, "Oh, Ben, no, we're taking X, Y, and Z schools out of the equation." Yeah,
for sure. And I think even. That's 2003, call it. That's not that long ago, but how stuff's changed between now and then. It's with the recruiting world, it's so different.
Yeah. You sent out an email, which was probably on Earthlink.
It was AOL.
That doesn't exist.
The phone calls couldn't come through, and we were on AOL. But I think that's kind of what started it. But yeah, it wasn't. But I wasn't like heavily recruited, and so really I remember Sergio Brown coming to my scout ball games. I remember I went to some baseball resource showcase and talked to Sergio a couple times, and that's kind of how it ended up me coming to UC Irvine.
Was there a place you wanted to go?
I remember, I was a good student in high school, and so the Stanford thing always was like interesting because you knew they had Carlos Quentin and those guys playing on TV against the Cal State Fullertons of the world every year, it felt like.
Yeah. Especially those high school years for you, it was pretty dominant in California.
Yeah.
Between 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like, holy Christ, between Long Beach and Fullerton, Stanford and Fresno. I mean, a lot of teams on TV.
Yeah, so I think, because I was a good student, the Stanford thing and seeing them on TV seemed like that was, why not go to Stanford? Again, naive. And I remember going up there and talking to their coach for a long time, and there wasn't interest in Stanford, and I can't really blame them. And then started playing the scout ball thing, and Sergio came out and we'd talk, and I liked Sergio. And again, but it was more of just, this is a college coach and he's talking to me.
Right.
I'm not talking to anybody else.
What was your first trip like coming to Irvine?
I came here. Sergio met us. It was kind of I don't remember much about the visit. I don't remember much of what we talked about.
With dad? Or with
with
mom?
my dad. With my
Okay.
dad. I think just me and my dad. I think we walked around campus. We met. We ended up sitting down with Coach Serrano in the old offices, which are a green portable building right now that kind of the soccer team and some IT people use. I remember me and my dad sat down in Coach Serrano's office. We met Coach Bergeron. That was Coach Serrano's. He was in his first year here at UC Irvine,
Right.
coming over from Fullerton and winning the national championship. And he just kind of painted his vision of what Irvine could be, that he was going to be able to get this place to Omaha. And I remember, just from Sergio and Bergie and Coach Serrano, them feeling like they kind of wanted me. And, again, I wasn't talking to schools, so nobody wanted you, and so the fact that somebody wanted you was really cool. They said, we want you so much that there's no scholarship. And so we qualified for a lot of financial aid, but they said, we like you so much, and, there's no scholarship. And they're like, what do you think? And I said, can we go outside? And I remember we stepped outside and walked back inside about 3 seconds later and set them in and committed to Irvine.
Just like that.
Yeah. And it's crazy because you look back at it, and you don't know anything. I didn't know anything. We didn't know anything. And the fact that it worked out to be the best place in the country where I could have been, to have the experience and the career that I had, that when we're coming on this visit here, there's no way we could have known that. And we, unfortunately, might have said yes to anybody at any school. But
yeah, if you end up at Arizona State, or you go.
Well, I wasn't good enough there.
Well, but if you do, or you go community college route, and you're like, oh, let's see. I mean, you never know what happens.
Yeah, and so the fact that it's worked out how it did for me here as a player, and what it's kind of led to beyond that is, you wish you could say it was some big plan that we had, but it's pretty cool.
What was it like then, for that first time coming and playing here on the field? D1 college athlete now. You get to put that on. You're like, I'm a Division I college athlete.
Yeah, I didn't look like one. I weighed 140 pounds, I think, my freshman year.
How tall were you then, your freshman year? Were you done?
I think it was as tall as I was.
Okay.
5'10".
5'10",
yeah,
140.
Yeah, 145.
Just a beautiful build. Beautiful build.
Yeah. Irvine had a lot of guys that year from the Ventura County. I got Chad Lundahl from Thousand Oaks, Cody Cipriano from Westlake, Brian Peterson, Justin Castle from Chatsworth, Ollie Linton from Crespi,
Right.
Aaron Lowenstein from Calabasas.
So you knew some of these guys.
I played against them. I didn't know, and they
Right,
didn't know
but
me.
you just-
I knew who they were for sure. And so it was like really cool playing on the same field as those guys. I never viewed myself as, like a big time type player. I was trying to be a good high school player. So I remember just being here and get to practice, and really, I learned so much. I mean, Coach Serrano, Bergie, Sergio, Chad Baum was here. Mm-hmm. Greg Wallace was an undergrad. I learned so much about baseball that I never knew, and that was awesome.
What were you learning?
I learned everything. I mean, I had a good high school coach who taught me about things, but this was like baseball 201, and it'd be hard to even.
I mean, did they strip you down to like, okay, listen, we're starting from the feet up?
No, just the things that they think about that go on. I mean, Coach Serrano just won a national championship at Cal State Fullerton. He'd worked for guys that, Coach Garrido and Coach Horton. And so just the stuff that I was getting exposed to, like I had no idea was even, opened my eyes to so many things. Realized, showed me how little I knew. But I love that. And the intellectual side of it, and then seeing how it makes me better. It was awesome. It was so much fun. And it was hard work. I mean, it was hard, just the day-to-day basis and how hard they pushed us.
Was your idea to play second base or shortstop, or did they put you
I just
somewhere?
wanted to play. I mean, as a freshman, I just wanted to, be on the team.
You played 56 games.
Yeah. So yeah, I started opening day at second base. I hit second on opening night. Brian,
What was that like when they tell you you're going to start?
They don't tell you. They just post it and you see the lineup. And I can't remember if I was surprised or if I thought, yeah, of course.
Well, you had to have a feeling coming up into the week. Like,
yeah, I was playing well, and I think I was doing, it was their second year, and I think I was able to do the things that, when you're limited physically, you kind of got to do everything that the coaches want you to do to have a chance to be good. And so I could play defense, and I was smart, and I could bunt, and I wouldn't strike out, and that was good enough, I guess. And so I remember hitting second, and we played Cal on opening night, and Brandon Morrow was the pitcher, and he was going 100 miles an hour, 101, and I remember thinking, if this is what college is like, I'll never get a hit. I think.
What was your first at bat like? What were you doing? You dig in and go, okay, here we go.
I'm sure I probably got a take side in the first pitch, which was good, and I don't remember what I did my first at bat. I think you have to go back and check. I think I broke up his perfect game with a hit by pitch. I think, and then my first college hit, I can't remember if it was Friday night or Saturday. I hit a ball like 74 feet to the 4-hole, and nobody covered first. And I thought that was about how I'm going to have to get hits at this level. So that's what I remember from that early part. And then later in the year, I think once we got to conference, I remember we lost maybe 5 in a row maybe. And I think I played shortstop, I think, on Sunday of our first weekend series. You're nodding, so maybe I'm right.
Yeah.
And I played shortstop every game after that for the next 3.5 years.
Yeah. And they saw something to move you over. Figure we're going to let you can run this thing.
Yeah, I think we were kind of, again, I wish my memory was better.
Your bat came late, that's for certain.
Yeah, I wasn't good enough.
217.
Yeah. I mean, I weighed 140 pounds, and I couldn't, 0 extra base hits. I remember that part.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I needed to get stronger, and I needed to get better.
Yeah. You guys made the regional, went to Pepperdine.
Yeah, we made the regionals. We played UCLA in game 1. Pepperdine hosted Missouri with Max Scherzer was the 4 seed.
Yep. How'd you do against Max?
We didn't face him. I mean,
you got around him.
Yeah.
How did Pepperdine ever get a regional without lights?
Yeah, I remember we played a long extra inning game that people are waiting to come into the stadium, and unfortunately, the lasting memory from that regional. I hit into a 6-4-3 double play to end our season. With Cody Cipriano on deck and a 1-run game, first and second, 1 out, and I hit into a 6-4-3 to end our season.
Yeah, so I did see that.
I have a good memory about that. You wish you could remember, the good things as much as the bad things. But yeah I hit into a 6-4-3 to end our season.
What was your summer like? You decide, okay, I gotta put on some weight. This kid can't weigh 140 the rest of his career.
Yeah, that was part of it for sure.
Now it's college life. You've gotten that first year under your belt.
Yeah, I never, even throughout my pro career, I always could and still could now, eat better and do that stuff, actually cook or grocery shop. I always could have done that stuff better, but I never lifted weights really in high school, so I enjoyed lifting and I got stronger.
Well, the batting average went up to 324. Something happened. What clicked?
I got better. I think there were really good coaches here, and I wanted to. It was really important to me.
Did you just absorb it like a sponge?
Yeah. It was.
Whatever you say, Dave. Whatever you say, Serge. I'm just.
Yeah, Bergie. I think they took an interest in me, and they wanted to help me get better, and I liked to work, and I feel like, kind of my whole life, I always felt like if you're willing to outwork people, you got a chance. And it was really, really important for me to get better and to be good. And, I don't really know the drill for that or the drill that made that happen, but it was like really, really important to me, that I was able to get better.
Did you put in extra work? Like, I'm going to grind whatever I need to do?
Yeah. It was easy for me because, it's what I wanted to do. And so to come early and hit and to stay late and hit, and it's like that's what I wanted to do. And so I think that's what helped me get good and or get better. And knowing that I got to get better. I mean, I ended our season on a 6.43, and I wanted to get better. You know, they were playing me every day, and I wanted to get better and was able to get better.
I remember seeing Dave in that series, and he said, "Watch Ben. He's a player. He's a player."
In 07?
In that 07 year, and that year, because you guys make a run. You go 47-17, and you happen to go. I'm sitting right here. I'm looking. There's a photo of you in the greatest stadium ever built in Omaha. What was that like your sophomore year?
I mean, it was awesome. It's
things are clicking. You're winning.
Yeah, I mean, the individual moments, are hard to remember. And I remember even my freshman year. We played Cal State Fullerton 6 times that year, and Cal State Fullerton's who you grow up seeing on TV every year. I mean, I remember vividly watching Mark Kotze sitting in my parents' bedroom in Omaha, in Rosenblatt, in the blue seats and the yellow seats. And we played Fullerton 6 times my freshman year, not to backtrack. And that Fullerton team had all the names that They'll be too long to say on here. And we went 2-4 against them that year. And I thought, wow, that's really good. Because, this team is – I mean, there's major leaguers on this team.
They
lost to North Carolina that year.
Yeah.
And we went 2-4 against them. And, we were Irvine. We were 4 years into a program. And it's like, that's a big deal that we went 2-4 against them. And so I think that next year, 07, I think we thought we were going to be good. But, I mean, we didn't know. I think we had a bunch of guys kind of that felt similar things to me that weren't the guys that people thought were good, and some cast-offs, the guys that went to other places that didn't work out, some guys that weren't heavily recruited. We had really, really good coaches, and I think it was important to all of us to try to show that, why can't we win? Why can't we be good? And to do what we did, going through that, we won that regional at Texas. I don't remember a lot about the regular season. We won the regional at Texas. I remember that. At Dish Falk, Dish Falk was getting renovated, so we played it at Round Rock, which was sweet.
And then Wichita, right?
And then Wichita State, we won it. So walk-off hit by Brian Peterson, who was my roommate, to send us to Omaha for the first time in the history of the school.
And you guys don't come home. I remember that, right? You don't come home. You go straight to Nebraska.
It's a good memory. Yeah, we bused straight to Omaha. And it was awesome.
That must have been one hell of a bus ride.
Yeah, it was great. Did
it drive, or you guys floated there? Because you guys had just been on cloud 9.
I mean, yeah, it was unbelievable.
I mean, because you're 2 years removed from not playing maybe college baseball to now you're going to the pinnacle, Omaha. I've got photos of Jared Weaver with Omaha written under his cap. Never got there. I mean, there's great players that have never, ever gotten there. Max, you faced him.
Yeah.
And now you're going.
Yeah, it was really cool, and I think just the that sense of accomplishment of a team, of going to Texas and beating Texas, and I remember just that practice day at the regional at Texas. They were practicing before us, and I remember walking to the stadium, and they had shorts on, and they were kind of it looked like
going through the motions.
It looked like a country club practice a little bit. And I think that's, Coach Serrano, and I think especially his first couple of years here, what he was trying to build here, that I remember seeing them practice on Thursday and knowing that we were going to win. And winning that thing, and then going to Wichita State, and they set, I think, attendance records that weekend. And then going to Omaha and that bus ride.
And Wichita's a big place. If people haven't gone there, it's a big place, and it means a lot to them.
Yeah, and it's loud. And there was, I actually, in game 2 of that, we blew a lead in the 9th. Partially because I threw a ball wide. Our first baseman, it was an awful throw, but our first baseman stayed on the base. They called him out. Gene Stevenson, the legend, comes out. There's 7,000 people yelling, and they changed the call safe.
Don't turn this into a therapy, Ben.
No, and we had to come back and we walk them off, in the bottom half of the inning,
right,
and go to. I just think you're going to try to say nice things, so I want to make sure the other side comes out too. We got to keep it real.
But no, it's true, right? It's those painful moments that you're like, oh, I just threw the ball wide.
Yeah, and
damn it.
But yeah, and then we go to Omaha, and I remember as we're going up the hill, Coach Serrano had obviously been to Omaha a lot. I remember him telling us to close our eyes, and then open your eyes and you can see Rosenblatt, and you've just seen this thing on TV and you didn't think that it was real. I think it's similar, again, not to kind of all over the place, but when we played Fullerton for that first time, just the college baseball fan that I was, the first time I saw Coach Horton, I've told him this, I legitimately saw like a TV box around his head. Like I thought I was watching TV, and that's what it was at Rosenblatt. I remember I stood in the dugout next to Sergio. I think we walked it before we practiced. I think we walked it one day, practiced the next day, and I was standing next to him in the dugout, and he's like, I was standing right here when Mark caught it. I was like, that's so cool. And so the Omaha experience and how they treat you in that city, and it was unbelievable.
I mean, that stadium, I don't know how it wasn't a national monument. It's got so much rich history there. It's beautiful. The people that have played, presidents have thrown opening pitches. Its view, what it means to the city. I'm glad you got to play there because there's nothing like it, and there will never, ever be anything like it.
No, that's for sure.
It's corporate now. It's cement. It's built literally on a dump. It just doesn't have the same feel. So for you guys to get there, and then what happens? Of all things, you end up playing Fullerton.
Yeah.
I mean, was that crazy that you're playing another Big West team?
Yeah, and they were good.
But they were bad because they were the 4th seed. They should not have made the tournament.
Yeah, Riverside won the conference that year with 4 guys that ended up pitching the big leagues. Yeah, but it was Fullerton, and it was Coach Horton, and, you know, for a long time, you know, what that – and, again, this is sacrilegious working where I work. But, you know,
but it's true. It's growing up.
Fullerton, the Titans, like what that meant and that aura about them.
Right.
And,
I mean, let's be real. It meant something back then.
No question. And, and when we lose in the first game to Arizona State and Mike Leake and Brett Wallace, then we play a marathon game and beat Cal State Fullerton in extra innings.
The longest game ever.
Longest game in the history of Rosenblatt or the College World Series. For sure,
Rosenblatt.
Yeah.
You guys played the noon game and went so long. The 6 o'clock game was delayed. You guys went on for so long.
Yeah, and then and it ends up being the last game that Coach Horton ever coaches there because Taylor Holiday hit by pitch.
Right. Which is crazy. That's his last game, and it's Rick's first. And then he comes in.
Yeah, and then
so bizarre.
And then we beat Arizona State, who was a really good team,
loaded
in extra innings, coming from behind. Pat Murphy, with a bunch of big leagues. That Arizona State team was, and then we play Oregon State, and we kind of just ran out of. It was a different format back then with less off days.
Mm-hmm. It was.
They beat us, I think, 7-1. I remember there being a call at first base on a high throw. That kind of changed the momentum of that. We started Christian Bergman, who ended up pitching 3 years in the big leagues and gave us a chance to win. And they beat North Carolina, I think, a couple nights later to win the national championship.
Did the family come out to watch you?
Yes. Yeah, they were out there. Yeah, it was cool.
What was it like for you when you run out there and you take your spot? Did you look out at that stadium and go, oh my God, those colors? I've seen them on TV. The blue, the yellow, the orange.
I think it was more before the games. I think during the game you're kind of playing the game, and I think how you're kind of treated around that city. It's like you're like a celebrity, and that's for where UC Irvine.
Who was your host? Do you remember?
One of those Rotary clubs.
Right.
I really remember practicing at blanking on the high school.
West something, right? There's always West High and East High. They're always and people come out, they want your autograph.
Yeah, and you're a celebrity.
Kids are hanging on the fence.
Yeah, they think you're cool, and it's awesome.
You're the greatest thing ever. You're from California.
Yeah, I remember just it being so different at Rosenblatt from at Texas. It was so loud, and everybody loved Texas. And then Wichita, it was so loud, and everybody loved Wichita. And you get to Rosenblatt, it's this big stadium, but it's like a big league game. Like it's just kind of
right. There's
20,000
people.
There's a lot of people there. If somebody makes a good play, everybody cheers. But it kind of being like a easier environment than the last two that we were just at because it's kind of just like a neutral-ish environment.
Everybody just loves all the teams.
Yeah, and I don't think the stakes really. I don't really remember feeling intimidated or overwhelmed, because I think we were too naive and we didn't know anything.
You didn't know any better,
and we just thought, of course we're going to win. Like we beat Texas, we beat Wichita, we beat Arizona State. Of course we're going to win.
Yeah, we're playing on house money at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. I covered the game in 2001 when Fullerton plays Nebraska. And that's the most hostile I've seen that crowd be because it was Nebraska and it was bonkers. But after that, it's always been very much, we're just happy that you're here and enjoying our lovely stadium in our little town. And it's Mardi Gras for 2 weeks and let's play ball. That was it.
Yeah, that's what it's like. And but you said it. I mean, about the National Monument. I mean, that place is so special and the history. It's really, really special. And I think it's one of those things that You wish you go back in time and appreciate it more because it's hard when you're in the moment and you're 19 years old. And but yeah, it's really, really special.
You're running around like an idiot, just doing your thing.
Yeah.
So there's a huge change then between your sophomore and junior year, and it could be a change that sets you up or where you're at now. Dave decides to leave and go 20 miles north, and a guy who nobody wanted anymore comes here, Gillespie. Talk about that. That must have been like this weird, the guy who loved you and a guy who becomes an unbelievable mentor to you.
Yeah, it was hard. I mean, I remember he interviewed at Oregon that same off season. I remember him calling me when he was going to Oregon and like talking about that process. And I don't think looking back on it now, I mean, he didn't owe me that. I mean, the fact that he would do that is special and not normal.
Right.
That he would worry about me or talk to me at all about that process. That's not normal.
Right. I mean, as your junior year, were you thinking, okay, we've got a team, we're legit here, and then with Dave leaving, did that kind of worry you? With a new coach, things could be different?
Yeah, when he left, I mean, I'll go back one step just because it's a good story. When the Oregon thing fell through, we thought he was staying. Mm-hmm. And it was September when he took that Fullerton job. And I remember a bunch of us had already moved into our houses here at school. And I remember, a couple of us were coming to lift one morning, whatever it was, and Bergie calls me and he says, like, team meeting at 1:00, and school hadn't started yet. And he's like, see if you can round up the guys. And I was like, all right, that's weird. And so we go lift. And as we're lifting, and we're dumb. We don't think anything of it. We're lifting, and our strength coach comes out of his office and says, come look at this. And it's on Baseball America, and it said, Dave Serrano takes the Fullerton job. And I 100% thought, oh, that's what we're talking about. He's going to tell us that's not true. And finished working out. And that's 100% what I thought. And then we finished working out, and we're coming to the field. And as we're like getting to the gate, I see Bergie in the stands talking on his cell phone, Sergio in the stands talking on his cell phone, a couple assistant ADs here, and it's like, oh no, that is true. He is leaving. And so we have a meeting downstairs. He tells us, what this team's meant to him, and that he's going to Cal State Fullerton. And everybody was kind of all stunned and speechless because this was our coach. And, in college baseball, you make your college decision based on a lot of things, but the biggest piece being the coach.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so I remember that, and then he left, and my now sports supervisor, his sports supervisor, spoke for a couple minutes, and then he left. And I remember all of us sitting in our, locker room, nobody saying anything. And I remember thinking, like, somebody's got to say something. And I remember just saying, like, they'll hire a new coach and we'll keep winning. Something. And then Coach Gillespie ends up getting hired.
Were you even aware of what Mike's situation was?
No. I mean, I knew the name and that he was a successful coach at USC, but when you're in college, you don't know. You're not following those people like we are now. And Kendall Rogers tweets something, right. Everybody knows who everybody is. So no, I didn't know his situation.
Okay.
I knew he was at USC for a long time and really successful, and now currently not at SC.
Right. Yeah, because it's a very interesting situation on how these dominoes fall for coaches. But when you're a college guy, if you're not aware, you have no idea.
Yeah, and it's, remember, it's 2007, and so there's no Twitter, and you can't find out what people think about this person.
There's the internet. That's it. That's the version of social media.
Yeah,
the internet.
And that process started so late that I remember meeting some of the candidates that were coming here to interview, and they didn't hire Coach Gillespie till after school already started for us. And we had kind of already had our calendar that Coach Serrano laid out for us in the fall. And so we were just doing that. And we didn't have coaches, and we were going to weights as a team. We were doing conditioning. We were practicing as a team for like 2 or 3 weeks until Coach Gillespie got hired.
Did you take that leadership role of rounding guys up?
Yeah, it was me and some other guys. I mean, we had like a group of guys that wanted to win and kind of experienced some winning last year and thought we could keep winning. And, we knew, Coach Serrano had set such a good tone and his staff on what's needed to be done to win. And we saw it worked. And so it's like, let's just keep doing that. Like, we don't need we don't need them to tell us
what to do.
Yeah, we've done this for 2 years, and so
Yeah.
we just practiced and did it, and then after 2 or 3 weeks of doing that, then Coach Gillespie was able to start coaching us.
How was that dealing with a new coach now?
It was different for sure, and just his. I know it's some of the stuff you'll talk about later, but I think his personality is a completely different person than Coach Serrano. Coach Serrano was a pitching guy. Coach Gillespie was an offensive guy.
Right.
Their personalities are completely different. Coach Gillespie was more involved with every facet of the game. Coach Serrano was more the head coach, run the program, be the pitching coach.
Right.
And so as a position player, you kind of dealt with Coach Serrano at the beginning of practice, at the end of practice, and then during some of the team stuff. But and so Coach Gillespie was more involved, and he was louder than Coach Serrano. But I think everybody knew. I mean, his track record and the presence that he has. He demands his presence and voice and experience and knowledge. it demands respect, and so it was really easy to, it was different. And how he did things was completely different than how Coach Serrano did things, and it was hard. But it was.
Did you guys try to carry on? Okay, these are things Dave did, and then we're going to try to blend them with what Mike's going to do? Because I know the whole running on the field, running off the field was a very Dave thing.
Yeah, there were some.
And then you guys carried that.
Yeah, there were some things that stuck. I remember Ollie Linton, who was a really, really good player. I remember him telling Coach Gillespie at one point something to the effect of, "Hey, this team's different. Like, we do some things different." But no, we did what Coach Gillespie. He came in and instituted his program, and we did what he wanted us to do. And some of the things like running on the field carried over. But it was Coach Gillespie's program, and it worked out. It was a really good thing.
Right, because 15 years later, I still see the guys running on and off the field.
Yeah, and that's. I'm kind of not embarrassed by it, but I think it's kind of lost. I don't think the kids understand why we do it.
Right.
Coach Serrano explained why we do it, and it's kind of just like always been there. And it's like, I think as a coach, there's some things you care enough to change, and there's some things it's like, okay, I can
let the guys do that.
Yeah.
They want to run in their sandals on the field. Let them go for it. Well, you guys didn't have a bad year. You got to the Super Regional and play in a monster stadium at LSU. For the love of God.
Yeah, we had a great year. We won. You mentioned Nebraska. We won the regional at Nebraska.
Hostile territories. Could you guys ever, until your senior year, get a place that was comfortable? Good luck. Nebraska and LSU?
Yeah, it was, that Nebraska regional was awesome. I remember, the facilities were crazy. The fans were awesome. Our third baseman the year before, Tyler Vaughn, he had transferred. He was gone now, but he had transferred from Nebraska to Irvine. And I texted him from the Nebraska regional, and I was like, "You went from this place to that place?"
What's wrong with you, kid?
And I remember that winner's bracket Saturday night game is like, that's what determines the regional winner, right?
It really does.
And,
yeah.
Our pitching coach now, Danny Babona, threw in that game against a guy named Johnny Dorn, who's a senior All-American, had thrown a no-hitter a couple weeks earlier.
Was that all?
And I remember their bullpen was beyond the fence, and before the game, when he's like finished his warm-ups and he's walking out of the dugout, it's like a standing ovation. It's like, oh, wow, like this is pretty cool. We beat them in a close game, and Oral Roberts ended up beating them, and then our director of baseball operations, soon-to-be development officer, Bryce Stoll, dominated Oral Roberts and was the MVP of the tournament. And we went to LSU, and LSU had won 20-something in a row at that time. It was big ball against little ball, and we had no shot. And I think we beat them pretty handily on Friday night, maybe 11-4. And then on Saturday, Danny pitched, and we were winning, I think, 7-2 after 7 and 7-4 after 8. And lost 9 to Skip at 5 runs in the 9th and got beat.
And that place must have gone bonkers.
And then the next day we lose 21-7. I remember some of.
Wait, Irvine has football back?
Since time has passed, the guys that were in the bullpen have told me in years past that on that Saturday night where we're winning 7-4 in the 9th, they said that fans were begging them to not dogpile like on the last game at Alex Box, like during that night, in that 9th inning as they score 5 runs and heartbreaker and then, but our, we had Bryce Stoll to pitch game 3 and I remember and he had just pitched the best he'd pitched all year the week before against Oral Roberts, and ends up signing for $750,000 a couple weeks later. And I remember thinking, like, we'll get him tomorrow, like, because we had, we had dominated 17 of the 18 innings, and we didn't, And
those bats came out, and all of a sudden it was just on top of you.
Yeah, and and we were still in it at some point, but it got out of hand, and LSU went to Omaha.
Right. It's amazing how, like, all of a sudden you can just feel that momentum, and they just start pounding the ball out of there.
Yeah, I mean, they were really good, and that environment, and it was hot, and the ball was flying, and they were really good, and they got to dogpile the last game at the old Alex Box.
Now, was there any feel your junior year of there could be a draft and I'm going, because it's that weird thing like juniors go?
Yeah, I thought because I had become a pretty good player that junior year you get drafted, you sign. Mm-hmm. I think like everybody, you get drafted lower than you think you're going to get drafted.
Right.
But still thinking that I was going to sign. Kind of how that thing ended at LSU. I wanted to come back and try to go to Omaha. That's again, when I was in high school, I wasn't really worried about, I didn't know college was like, I wanted to play in college, but I didn't know what you do.
Right.
I wanted to be a big leaguer, but like I had a great college experience, and we were winning, and I said, what's better than this? And I wanted to come back. I wanted to go to Omaha, and so I didn't sign, and came back for my senior year.
What are you studying at the time?
I mean, I was playing baseball. I was, who listens to these podcasts?
Just your father.
I didn't take school very serious. I was able to get by without putting in a lot of effort. I always knew I wanted to play for as long as I could play. Then once I started playing for Coach Serrano and his staff, I wanted to coach as long as I could coach. Then I should drop a Jim Harbaugh and then die. Yeah. But when I had to declare a major, I was undecided, and Brian Peterson, he was a year older than me. I said, what's your major? He's like, criminology. I said, do you like it? He's like, yeah. I said, all right, that's what I'll do. So I was criminology.
Okay.
But I was just taking
the course
to be able to play. I knew, there wasn't a major that was baseball coaching or that.
All right, if you can look back and tell young Ben before his freshman year, hey, young man, is this a good idea to look at this? Would you do that? Would you say, okay, maybe I take business administration or whatever?
No, I would have done it exactly the same. I would have done it exactly the same. I went the path of least resistance, and I got a chance to do what I always wanted to do.
Sure, I mean, it worked out, but you never know.
I had done it exactly the same.
All right, so your senior year, you guys run through conference, 22-2. You guys are on fire. Things are working. You guys are, at some point, you guys are number one team in the country. I mean, things
for a long time.
Yeah, things are happening. Was that surprising? Again, this is a kid who almost doesn't go and play D1 baseball, and now you're on the number one team in the country?
No, I think from seeing what we were the last 2 years, I think it's exactly what we thought. I mean, I think that's why I didn't sign. I wanted to come back. I knew we were going to be good. By then we had gotten to play against Nebraska and Texas and Arizona State, and so that's like us.
Right.
And so it was not a surprise to any of us. And I think we were ranked number one in the country, I want to say, for 2 months. And to think of that now in the area that we're at, I mean, that's remarkable. But I think it went exactly how we thought it would, and I think it just speaks to the relentlessness of that team. I mean, Santa Barbara I never thought anybody would approach 22-2 ever again. To win every single weekend is so hard, and Santa Barbara did it this year. But
right.
But I think it was exactly what we thought would happen.
How was it getting a regional at Irvine?
Hey, by then I think you're getting older, that you kind of learn a little bit more about college baseball, and you probably wish that we didn't do as good when they would send us somewhere. But it was
interesting. Isn't that funny? To be sent somewhere, all the distraction is gone.
Yeah, and I think just I think when the teams from the West play other teams, stylistically it benefits the West, in my opinion. So playing here, we knew Strasburg's from the regional, and it was sweet.
Yeah,
I remember.
What'd they call that? The regional of death?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Strasburg is here, Virginia.
And the defending national champion, Fresno State.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah, and so yeah, we got no cupcake 4 seed and beat Fresno, and that was the start of this run that Virginia went on of Coach O'Connor and 450 wins, I think, in a 9-year span. And Danny Holtzson, who ended up being the number 2 overall pick or whatever, Chris Taylor, and they were young. I mean, they had a lot of freshmen and sophomores, and they played better than us that weekend.
I mean, it ends on May 31st on that Sunday against Virginia, right? I watched the game because it was on ESPN. I believe it was a copy of a copy, but I think Phil Nevin was one of the announcers in that regional. His deep booming voice is pretty distinct. What was that like being there? And you're thinking, damn it, we were right there. They score a couple runs in the 9th. Why is this happening?
Yeah, I don't remember that regional very well.
Have you blocked that out of your mind?
Yeah, I think so. Just the disappointment of this season that we have. And, it all ends at some point for every team. But I think, with how good we were, with how we were rolling, really the last 2 years in a row, you're never prepared for it to end. And, I'm probably, to protect myself, probably it's good that I can't remember, just that the college career's over, that this is done, and you got to move on to what's next because, you don't want to move on.
Right. But you get drafted.
Yeah. I got drafted in the 9th round by the Houston Astros, and that was awesome. It was awesome. I was sitting in my house at Newport, when I got drafted.
I mean, are you thinking, okay, wherever I go, it doesn't matter. I'm going.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. This is a senior. You have no leverage.
Well, wait a minute. You were taking criminal justice. You weren't thinking about being an attorney in Newport?
No, I have no
working in the DA's office or something?
No backup plan. That would have not lasted at all. I got drafted, and it was awesome. And, same deal. You'd heard, hey, it could be 5 to 10. And you're like, I should be drafted higher in the 5th round. I'm good. And get a call and get picked by the Astros in the 9th round, and it was awesome.
I mean, your batting now has gone through the roof. You're way better batter than that skinny little freshman. Mm-hmm. You won a major award. That doesn't happen very often. I mean, and you're all over the record books.
Yeah, when you play for 4 years instead of 3, like some of the good players, you got a chance to be on some of that stuff.
That's all right. Sometimes it works out. I mean, so you get drafted. What are your expectations on that minor league experience? Because there's horror stories, there's great stories. Like, was it what you thought it was going to be? Were you worried? What?
I think by then it was kind of like how I felt about the team. I felt like, yeah, I'm a good player. I mean, I remember the confidence that, the team developed. Why can't we win? And even as a player, if I wasn't recruited, but now I'm I think I'm pretty good. Even my sophomore year, I remember I always wanted to play for Team USA, and that year, Danny Espinoza and Brandon Crawford were both my age, and I used to always be like, I'm going to play on Team USA. I'm going to make a point that when we play them, everybody will know who the better guy is. And that's the competitor in you.
Right.
Of course I was wrong. I mean, maybe, you look at what those guys did. So, of course, I was wrong. But I think that was the same kind of mindset in pro ball of I think I can be good. I don't think it really matters where I go or who's there. I think I can be good. And so it was it's minor league baseball. I think when kids grow up, you dream of being a major league baseball player.
Right. And
you don't really think about what minor league baseball is. And so that was kind of disappointing is not the right word, but it's not what you see on TV, and it's not what you thought. And I was, so fortunate for my college career. I mean, I'm playing in Rosenblatt. I'm playing, that you're going and playing in, some of these places, and it's
you're
winning.
Playing at Irvine. You're a mile from the beach. I mean,
yeah, but that stuff never mattered. It was the baseball stuff. And it just was always about team. It always mattered and winning. And you get to that environment, and winning doesn't matter. Team doesn't matter.
It really doesn't, right?
No, not at all. And and not to critical of anybody, but I was. You look back on it. The coaches that I was able to play for in college were Hall of Famers, and you go to pro ball, and I'm somebody that really loves knowledge and learning, and you're playing for some of the guys in pro ball, and you're like, man, I thought there's a high school coach, there's a college coach, there's a minor league coach, and that hierarchy doesn't exist.
Right.
And I was spoiled by how good my college experience was, and so some of that stuff was not. Again, I want to find a better word than disappointing, but it's just not what you think it's going to be when you're a young kid. Yeah.
That's something about minor league baseball, and I've seen it when I was with the Angels. I was really shocked. And I think there's a lot of organizations that could have had better players if they had better minor leagues. They can ruin a player in the minor leagues or make a player in the minor leagues. And there's a lot of organizations that wonder why they keep losing, and they don't want to look at their minor leagues and go, well, we don't have quality in there.
Yeah, and it's a tough system, and just the split between scouting and player development. That the scouts, they're the ones that find the players, and player development's the one that coaches them. And there's lots of turnover, and the player development people don't have the ultimate say in who plays or who does what. Which I'm sure we'll get to, which kind of ended my career. So it's a tough world, but there's really good players. I mean, you play against the talent and the players that you see in that world are like not like anything you see in college, and that part's like really, really cool.
And guys are killing each other in the minor leagues. Everybody's just trying to get up to the next, the low A to get to the high A to get double. I mean, so there's fighting. Where in college, you're all on the same team and everybody's playing together and nobody's worried about sack bunting or moving anybody across. It's numbers. Everybody's trying to get numbers in the minor leagues.
Yeah, and the minor leagues were kind of hard for me because in college, I always felt a sense of anxiousness or nervousness. Like it was always revolved around the team. Like you wanted, again, that's like I remember the bad at-bats and the errors that cost the team. Like the team was what always mattered to me. And that gave you like that adrenaline. And then you get to minor league baseball, and I remember like being tired. And I was like, I've never been tired before. And now you're playing every day, you're traveling. But I think it was just because it was just about you. And I was like, it's like weird. Like it's not really that special when it's just about me. Like I'll get a hit or I won't, and like the game will keep. It's not.
Right.
It's about winning. So that was a big adjustment, and to be able to perform well in that environment where it's about you, it's not about the team. I think it's a little bit of a mentality switch.
I mean, I'd look at you as like the ultimate Navy SEAL, because they will say Navy SEALs don't want the biggest guy or the smartest guy, the strongest guy. Like they don't want the Incredible Hulk. They want the best team player, period, because it's within the team. You got to have, everybody has to be the perfect spoke within that wheel. And that's kind of like when you look at your stats, you're the absolute best teammate, right? You're that guy. And the way you're just talking about it, you're the Navy SEAL.
I certainly lack. So the lack of physical traits maybe fit for Navy SEAL, not the toughness, not the toughness, not the courage, not the bravery, the other stuff. Yeah, but it's about team. That's what like mattered, and that's and.
Where do you think you get that draw of team? Early on, was that just something you embraced and loved?
Yeah, I guess so. I've been on a team since I'm 4 years old. I just
Have you ever played an individual sport like tennis or wrestling?
No. I enjoy being on a team. Like I enjoy
the guys, the camaraderie,
enjoy seeing guys do well that benefits you, that you can make an impact on other people. That that really like. I like being on a team. It's not about and I think being on a team too. You go for 4 and you win. That you can still feel good about life. Like that's cool.
Yeah.
Or you can do something that helps you get a big hit that makes 30 guys happy. Like that. That's cool.
The greatest thing I saw in my research, and I was really shocked. What do you think it was? You're giggling.
I couldn't tell you.
I'm going to tell you because I think it's a great event. The World Baseball Classic. I had no idea you were in the qualifiers in 2012.
Yeah, I think.
Tell me how does that evolve? Right, you had said you wanted to play for Team USA.
Yeah. I think. I laugh. I didn't know that's what you were going to mention.
What did you think I was going to say?
I don't know what you were going to mention.
You switched to being a switch hitter?
No, I think.
No, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I laugh because I've heard that from a couple people, and of the list of things that I've been able to be a part of, that's not one of the ones that for me registers some of the emotion stuff like that you had, and not to like minimize it, but like for me. Of the list of things I've been able to do, that's not one of the things that I would like consider interesting when I look at me or I think back of. My dad's whole family's Jewish.
Right.
I certainly was not good enough to play for Team USA, certainly at that level. And so this was, to play on Team Israel, it's very loose qualifications to be able to fit the mold for that team.
It's always like that with everybody.
Yeah, and that's how those teams can be competitive.
Piazza didn't play for Italy and stuff.
Yeah,
and Eric Gagne was in
Canada. So they're looking for players.
Right.
And at that time, I think...
But you get a phone call like, hey...
I can't remember exactly.
We're looking for Jewish players.
No, I think that year in the minor leagues, I think they gave us all like papers about like, do you qualify for any of these states? I think these countries were trying to put together teams.
Right.
And so I remember doing that, and I remember being really cool getting chosen for that to be able to play in the World Baseball Classic. But you know what, our World Baseball Classic event, you know, we went to Jupiter.
Right, you're in Florida,
and that was 2000. I had been a pretty good minor leaguer by then. We go to Jupiter, Florida. Brad Oshmus was the manager. Gabe Kapler's a coach. Sean Green's a coach.
he comes out of retirement, right?
Yeah, Mark Lorraine, Mark Loretta. I think Mark Lorraine. A couple guys that I'd played against, even dating back to college. Cody Decker. There's a guy, Nate Fryman, played first base. That was like our hero on that team that I was playing against in AA that whole year. Josh Satin, who played Valley guy, played at Cal. So it was cool to play with those guys. But Jack Martyr, who's coaching at Oregon, was my roommate. Josh Zayed, a kid that was pitching with us with the Astros on the team. We went to Jupiter for 11 days. I remember getting paid like $1,500, which was more than what I got paid for a couple of months in the minor leagues. We worked out in Jupiter for a couple of days, and we played 3 games.
Right.
We played
South
3
Africa
games.
and Spain.
South Africa and Spain, and we were 2-0, and Spain beat us in that championship game. Spain had some guys from Cuba and the Dominican that I played against in the minor leagues. I started that game.
Do you remember your numbers? I
didn't do anything.
I happen to have.
Yeah,
them.
I didn't do anything. I didn't play very well out. I mean, I only played 1 game, but I didn't play very well out there.
Why do you think that was?
I think baseball. I mean,
Just baseball
We
numbers.
were out there for 11 days, and we played 3 games. And I don't think I had 6 at bats. I mean, I think. So it's just we got beat, and that was it. And then the good team Israel team was the next year that had the big run.
Right.
That looked like the fun team to be on. I think once
They didn't call you to be on the fun team?
Once I quit and got out of it, I think that helped contribute to them having a really good run.
The reason I talk about it is because I covered a qualifier in 2016 at Mexicali, Nicaragua, Germany, Mexico, and Czech Republic. And it was like that loosey-goosey too, right? Like, oh, I'm from South Carolina, but I'm on Team Germany. But it was so great to see these guys just come together and play. And it was Mexicali's stadium was bonkers. I've never seen anything like that before. Probably never will. I probably had to see a priest afterwards. It was just nuts. But it was cool to see guys like live out a dream. Like, I'm playing for the Czech Republic. I've never been there, but they got a qualification.
Yeah, I think ours probably would have been cooler if it wasn't like in Jupiter, Florida.
Right. But you could have gone there.
Yeah, but it was cool where, we had 2 native Israelis on our team, a lone Leishman and a guy named Shlomo Lipitz. And he got from Israel, and they brought out...
He has to play with that name, Shlomo.
Yeah, and they brought out like the... maybe their youth national team, and we like worked out with them for a couple days, and you see some of these kids that, over there, they all serve, and they're 19 years old, 18 years old, and you're just thinking how soft you are personally, what they're going through, and you're kind of seeing them play. And so that was like the cool part.
Yeah, he could be telling about the bombed out pizza parlor he was at the night before.
Yeah, which is happening to those kids.
Right.
And they're like playing, and it's like, geez, I am so soft.
And you're like, oh, I might have to play in Billings, Montana.
Yeah. So I think like, had it not been at Jupiter and got to experience some of that stuff, a good friend of mine was on that Czech Republic team. He's the head coach at Wright State right now.
Really?
Alex Sogard.
Okay.
Left-handed hitter, left-handed pitcher. His brother was Eric Sogard.
Yeah.
Played in the big league. Yeah, he was on that Czech Republic team.
Okay, so what did you think I was going to say then that I found interesting? That you're like, oh, what's my top 5? That's my bottom 20.
I was just waiting to get embarrassed with something.
No.
I just had, but it was, we were on ESPNU one of these last times, and a lot of those announcers that I know, we had an announcer that I didn't know. And he's like, I found something really interesting about you. And I'm like, where are you? Like, I don't think a lot of it's very interesting, And he brought up that same thing. And so that's why I laugh.
Yeah, it's
and
cool.
I don't know where you were going to go. And I was
No.
too scared
It's
to
just
think
cool
about it.
because I think whether it's how far you're removed or whatever, it's just to be able to represent a country that is obviously looking just to get their team together.
Yeah, no, it was a great experience. And to get
Because
play the World
like
Baseball
Cuba
Class.
or who's won it the last couple of years, Dominican, like they're
yeah.
loaded.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have to call up Poppy and say, oh, can you please come play? He's on.
Yeah.
But you're the other teams, and you're like, oh, we got to scrap some guys together.
Yeah.
Who's the third Canadian we can put together?
Yeah, no, it's cool. And some of the guys that I've played with and I'm friends with a good friend of mine, I played with him, I haven't talked about, Jimmy Van Osteren got a big hit for Canada in a win against the United States, you know, and so it's like I I wasn't a part of any of those types of, moments in international play, but it was cool. And, my dad played for Team Israel. And so I think it probably, it certainly meant something to him. And it was cool, and to get a chance to do that and made $1,500.
Well, you can hang that one over your brother.
Yeah, he's doing good enough.
So what was the bad taste left in your mouth with minor league ball?
I don't have a bad taste. My career ended, my whole career, I was always, when I was with the Astros, the big league team that's when they were losing 100 games. The minor leagues were really good. The players were really good. And so every year I'd pretty much start off as the fourth infielder and finish the year as an everyday guy when other guys got moved up or down. In 2012, I got called up to AA when Jonathan VR broke his hand. And I got called up there to go play short every single day. And that was the first time where it's like I was supposed to be an everyday player. I signed for $25,000, so I was a bonus baby.
Right.
But I got called up there in 12 to be an everyday player the second half of the season in AA. In AA, kind of just how the funnel used to be. Like, it's hard to get to AA.
Right.
I played for a manager that was kind of like a college manager who, he really liked me. And I played short every day. I was like offensive player of the month 1 month, defensive player of the month 1 month. We went to the postseason.
Felt things were clicking?
Yeah, and then I went back to spring training the next year, and I felt like for the first time that maybe I'm not an afterthought. Maybe I got a chance to do something. I've kind of proved it now at AA, and I remember spring training was the first year we did that year do meetings, and I remember sitting around. There's about 5 or 6 people in the room, and they kind of say, "You lack this, you lack that. You're probably going to start at AA as a backup." And I said, "Okay." And they said, "Do you have anything to tell us?" And I said, "No." And they kind of said, "Smart as you are, you don't have anything to tell us?" I said, "No, I'm a player. I just play." And one of the guys who was saying the most negative things kind of reached to shake my hand, and I was good. I didn't shake his hand, and left and had spring training and went to Corpus Christi again and was a backup. And then my manager, who had played for the year before, he really liked me. So he played me every day, and I played first, second, short, third, and DH, so the other guys could still play. And he led me off, and I played every day, and it was awesome. And I was kind of getting that year before. I kind of figured something out and was getting better.
What were you figuring out?
I was getting better offensively. I was
Speed of the game too?
Yeah, no, speed of the game I was fine.
Just offensively.
Yeah, offensively I was getting better. I'd started hitting with Craig.
Was it the wood bat?
No, I'd started hitting with Craig Wallenbrock. After my first year in pro ball and kind of learning my swing and getting better, and I was getting better. And so that year, my last year in 13, I was playing every day, a different position every day. So it was fun. We had a good George Springer, Kike Hernandez.
Right.
I mean, we had really good players. And a manager that liked me. I was playing every day, and I was hitting over 300 for a while. I remember I'd reached base safely in 20-something straight games. And I got called into his office one day after an off day, and I wasn't playing. And I'd been playing every day, and he called me into his office, and he said, I can't play you anymore. The front office told me I got to play the prospect guys. I can't play you every day anymore. And I said, okay, I understand. And he was cool, and he said, it's not. I got a family, I got a job, I got to do what they tell me to do. But because I respect you, I want to tell you why you're not playing. It's not because of me. So that was disappointing. And so kind of during that time, wanted to get released, wanted to get traded to go somewhere else where I could play. During that time, Coach Gillespie's going through a coaching change, and he told me, "Would you have any interest?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'll quit if you offer me a job." And he was kind of talking me down on that. And I was like, "No, it's hard to go to the field every day and play when your performance doesn't matter." And so the last game I ever played, I was not in the lineup. Our shortstop had to go home for a funeral, and it was legitimately, his name was scratched off the lineup, and mine was written in the lineup. I got 4 hits, and then didn't play 4 straight days. During those 4 days, Coach Gillespie called me and offered me the job, and I went into my manager's office and quit. Started coaching college baseball.
Was there an idea in your head, what was your out? I want to play baseball for X amount of years, or when did coaching slip into your kind of like?
I knew I wanted to be a college coach as soon as I started playing for Coach Serrano and his staff my freshman year. I knew I wanted to coach in college. Kind of what they showed me, what they taught me, how fun it was for me as a player.
Just pulling back that curtain kind of enlightened you to oh my God.
You can...
Criminal justice, go to hell.
Yeah,
I'm a baseball player.
Yeah, and so I knew I always wanted to coach in college. And to get the opportunity at where I went to school in a paid position, not a volunteer position.
Right.
I mean,
that's a big difference too,
yeah,
right?
Huge. And I think, at that point in my career, I don't really like calling it a career. At that point in my time playing in the minor
it was
leagues,
a career. Come on.
Had I stuck around, it would have been all about my ego and the guy that wanted to prove people wrong. I made it to the big leagues. And I would have woke up one day and I would have been 33 years old in AAA with 8 major league at-bats and would be happy to be able to tell everybody you were wrong. And so it was beyond lucky to get that chance to come work for Coach Gillespie.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of those guys that will sit there and say, I got my cup of coffee.
Yeah, and I mean, Mike Hessman, he was with the Astros my last year, and so I got to know Mike really well at spring training. And for your people that listen, he's the real-life Crash Davis. He's the minor league home run record holder, and he was 35 or 36 years old that year in the minor leagues. And I was like, man, I can't do this. And especially with the opportunity that I had. I mean, it was hard to have my baseball career be done, but I knew what I always wanted to do when I was done playing. And if I would have played 15 years in the big leagues and made $150 million, I would have wanted to come back and be a college coach. So it was really good for me.
I mean, 41 games into your season that year, you pulled a plug on it. I mean, that's big. You didn't even want to finish it out. You're like, I'm done with you guys. See ya. I'm going to Irvine.
It wasn't done with you guys. It was just,
But there was something to come to.
Yeah. I mean, the situation there was what it was, and they were going to play the prospect guys, and that's it's perfectly understandable. It's a business, and that not that I needed it, but anybody with anything could say, yeah, those Astros they did okay.
Yeah,
Correa over Orloff, that was a good decision. Altuve, that was a good decision. Bregman, that was a good decision.
You don't know.
No, I know it was a great decision, and so it was it was just what was next, and the timing of it couldn't have been better for me.
Had somebody else called, would you have gone for coaching, or was just because Mike and it's Irvine, did that feel comfortable for you to go? But if Eastern Carolina calls up,
I don't know. I mean, at that point, I was kind of desperate. I mean, I didn't know how much longer I could keep doing what I was doing, and especially having success. I mean, it was going to impact my performance. So I probably would have been open to listen to anything, but again, kind of as luck would have it for me, it was Coach Gillespie was UC Irvine. It was I said I'll quit tomorrow. He's like, I don't need you. You can finish out the season. I said I'll be there tomorrow.
Did you take the coaching? Did you go? Did it feel natural coaching?
Yeah.
I mean, you're young at this point.
Yeah, I was 26, 27. Yeah, I mean, Coach Gillespie. I mean, when you're working for him, you don't have to do a whole lot. I mean, he's so
he's
smart
very hands-on, right?
He does so much, and he's so smart. I mean, you just have to. The coaching part wasn't. I mean, it's.
Had it been more difficult if it was Serrano and he's kind of like letting his coaches coach? Would that have been a little more difficult?
Yeah, and it's not to say Coach Gillespie didn't let his coaches coach, but I think just the byproduct of, Coach Serrano's a pitching coach.
Right, different.
Yeah, the responsibility on the field would have been so much more right away.
Right.
Where the biggest adjustment for me was just learning the industry and the recruiting and stuff off the field.
Yeah, the NCAA BS.
Transcripts, but even like recruiting kids and the timelines on how to offer them. I remember one of the first kids I ever saw was Stephen Kwan, who's in the big leagues now with somebody, and I didn't know the process. Like, okay, I see him and like him. Like, then what? Like, you got to call him, you text him. Like, does Coach Gillespie need to talk to him? Do you need to go and visit? Like, I didn't, just that whole, I didn't know how that worked.
So you had to learn that process.
Yeah, and so that was probably the bigger adjustment.
And social media is starting to happen too.
Yeah, I'm not very good on that.
No, but it's happening, right?
Yeah.
Twitter's happening, Instagram's happening.
Yes.
So where young Ben didn't have an avenue to get his name out, all of a sudden these kids are like highlight videos and graphics of me hitting ball. All of a sudden that's happening.
Yeah. So the off the field type stuff was the bigger adjustment than the on the field stuff, especially working for Coach Gillespie, because he could cover up anything that you couldn't do. And thinking about it now with the position I have, like the I would never do what he did. I mean, I would never. I mean, because Danny was his pitching coach then too, and Danny had no coaching experience before Coach Gillespie hired him the year before to be his pitching coach, call the game, coach the pitchers. And then he hires me the next year that's got no coaching experience. And
why do you think he did that with both Danny and you? What did he think he saw? Especially
no, I think he was. He's so good at what he does. I mean, he doesn't need a lot of help. I mean, he's so good at what he does in the game, coaching the game. I mean, he didn't need a lot of help. I think he was at the point in his career too. He wanted to be around people that he liked, and probably wanted to, help us out.
Yeah.
And I think he changed our lives by hiring us, and that's the confidence and the. I mean, I as I sit here, how you do that and think that it's going to work is crazy.
Right. I mean, especially he was no spring chicken, right? He's got to be close to 70 at this point.
Yeah, but he had a lot of juice left.
Right. But still decide, okay, I'm going to bring in these 20-year-olds with zero experience and let them run the pitching. Oh, now I got this guy who's coming from the minor leagues.
Yeah, who's going to recruit the players. I mean, it's
he had a lot of trust.
Yeah, and he's the only one that could have pulled. He had trust, and he had confidence in himself of he's not his first rodeo. I mean, I could do this.
Yeah. But times were changing. Like in the 90s when he's at SC and things are rolling, the whole landscape's totally different. Now it's the 10s, social media, importance, dominance in this conference is changing. Things are swaying. Was he able to stay abreast of that and then handle two young coaches at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, Skip wasn't on Twitter, but
I don't think he would get it.
But no, he was forever so far ahead of his time in terms of coaching and motivating and knowing what wins games. That we were just doing the other stuff. He wasn't. I was the one getting kids transcripts. He wasn't getting kids transcripts.
Was he coaching you too? And giving you okay, Ben, here's a good thing to kind of learn, or did he just
not formally like that? I mean, I learned by watching him. I remember one of the only sit down type things like that is I coached third base, and me and Danny coached travel ball together, one of Teddy Silva's Little Eaters teams, and so it was a great when we were playing pro ball, and that's how he coached, and I coached third and called signs, and he called pitches, and 14U baseball in Arizona, and that was our coaching. But I remember one time Coach Gillespie sat me down. And he's like, let's talk about third base coaching. And he drew the field and the third base coaching box, and he said, you can't be this way or this way of the line. You can be as far this way or this way as you want. And then that was it. That was it. And stuff came up where there were teaching moments, but it was getting to work for him for 5 years was that was a master's class, and what's really great coach look like on a day-to-day basis, and just watching him was how a lot of learning took place. I mean, he wasn't, I think he had too. I mean, you knew him. I think he was so humble for what he was. I think he'd be.
Oh yeah.
I think he'd be. It's not in his personality to say nothing. Come here, let me teach you something. Where it's that's exactly what he certainly could have done.
Sure.
But I don't think that's in his nature to be let me teach you something. I don't think that's not his personality to think that he's, even though that's exactly who, he's the legend in the history of the sport.
Did you appreciate him more during those 5 years under him coaching than you did when you were playing?
For sure. And I think that, it's sad that, because I think even as time's gone on now that he's passed a year and a half ago now, unfortunately, I continue to appreciate him more and more, seeing what goes on as a coach. When you're an assistant coach, you see the behind-the-scenes stuff more, and you're like, man, this guy is real. And you learn a lot by watching him, and the stuff that you thought was dumb as a player, you're like, oh, no, actually, you were dumb, 20-year-old.
It's interesting. You just don't know.
Yeah, you see that, and so, we've really had a great relationship, and it's kind of changed throughout the years where, he was the coach, and, he cared about us a lot as a player, and then he really, every opportunity that I have in my life currently is because of him. And, the house that I live in, the job that I have, like, it's all because of him. And so to get to work for him for 5 years, like, is the best way to get prepared to be a head coach. There's no class for that. There's probably nobody better in the country to work for to teach you that. But, he's the boss, and there were times that, he, because of how successful he was and how long he had done it, he was old school, and I think we all need a little more old school. He wasn't big on, like, some collaboration and stuff. At times it was, this is what we're doing. And, or don't we all agree that?
Right.
And even as an assistant coach, you're like, come on, I think my input matters. And it doesn't.
Was that difficult for either you or Dan?
At times as an assistant, you think you're smarter than you are, just like when you're a player and you think you're smarter than you are. But I was smart enough to know
he's smarter.
That I'm not as smart as I think I am, but I think I could have some valuable input on this or that. And it's not to say he never listened to us. Of course he did. But, like, I think
he was probably smart enough to know when to take your input.
Yeah, he loved the intellectual side of baseball, and
I don't think people realize that.
It's a joke. I mean, there's nobody.
He learned under unbelievable people to be that smart. He was super smart.
I've never been around anybody that knows the game as good as him, and not even. I couldn't tell you who was second. And I really value trying to surround myself with people like that because I love that part of it. And I've never met somebody who's number two.
Where I always got that unbelievable knowledge from the coaches was the ones that took it seriously when they're at the College World Series and they do the conversation with the media, right? You saw that in 2014. I saw him in 2001, and he put on a 15-minute clinic of explaining, like, the most simplest thing that all the media members had no understanding of.
Yeah, and that's what, even in his last year as the head coach, he's got, like, the rule book. And it's like his rule book would always be open on his desk, and you'd like peek in, his office where we're sitting now, and it's a Wednesday in October, and he's got, like, the rule book on his desk, and you're like, umpires don't know the rule book half as good as he knows the rule book, and it's like, and he's 76 years old, and he's done it for 50 years, and it's like, or just and his just how long he'd been in a dugout and seen the situation and seen it so many times. And it's like, you can't simulate that type of experience, and how serious he took, like, that learning and, like, was able to apply it. I mean, it's and how sharp he was, even at the end. I mean, it's really unbelievable.
How was that learning curve at third? Because there's so much that happens for that assistant coach at third that there's sometimes head coaches coach third base. And Wayne did it when he was at Rice. Mm-hmm. George did it a couple of years. Was that a major learning curve for you to be like, wow, I'm getting guys in the position here. It's important.
Yeah, not to minimize, but, like, I think coaching travel ball, like, helped me kind of learn to coach a little bit. Gino Ariema, the women's basketball coach at UConn, obviously, he talked about one of the things that he thinks makes him such a good coach, that he says, I coached high school basketball. He's like, I coached really bad players. He's like, so I had to make them better. And so I think coaching, like, 14 and 15-year-olds, like, really helped me coach. And even third base, I coached third base, that helped. One of the things that's I've always the speed of the game never bothered me. That's one of my strengths as a player, is the speed of the game never really bothered me. I don't get emotional. I'm able to think. Those are things that help a third base coach. And it really mattered to me, because if I made a bad decision, I had to come back and stand next to Coach Gillespie. Mm-hmm. and so I learned, and I talked to some really good third base coaches, and it's fun. It's really fun coaching third, and I knew Coach Gillespie so well that I could help the guys and be, hey, this is because he was unconventional and did whatever he wanted to do whenever he wanted to do it.
Right.
So to be able to, like, prep some of the guys to know what he wants to do and what he's thinking, and hey, just because it's 2 strikes, like, squeeze is still coming. Like, when he puts on squeeze, don't miss. Like, it's coming. Squeeze is coming. Stuff like that to prepare them, because I knew him so well and I knew what he wanted, and so a lot of that stuff didn't have to be spoken because I knew him so well.
Right. When did you start to feel like, okay, I got my coaching chops. I'm feeling good. Was it year 2?
I'll let you know 3? When I get there. When I get there, I'll tell you.
As an assistant, we won't get you at the head, but as an assistant, where you're like, okay, I get the team, I get Mike, I could do this. Because there's a learning curve.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not very good at reflecting or seeing that. I was always just trying to get the next player, trying to like have a good practice. And I don't mean that as like a cliche. I truly mean like I don't know when we like had it under control. Like it was, after a couple of years, I knew the admissions process here.
Okay.
I knew what test scores were good.
Yeah,
I knew
right.
kind of when you see these people at games, the process might get sped up on this kid. So I kind of learned some of that stuff. But I don't think I ever had it like, okay, like I got it. So I never had that.
When Mike's decision to step down, was your forethought? I mean, like, was it immediate for you? Like, oh God, I would love to have this.
I mean, again, this the opportunities that he's created for me that I didn't deserve. That was another one of those. I mean, even early on in the process, like of leaving pro ball, he talked about me wanting me to be the head coach here one day, and it's like that's stupid, like. And so he had those conversations with me before I left the Astros,
right?
But again, it's like you don't. The way I'm wired, and it's good in some areas and bad in some areas, is you're just trying to like not mess up today, and you're just trying to do a good job for and for the team, but also for him. Like you don't want to let him down, and so I guess I kind of always thought that like I'd be the head coach here when he left, not because of anything besides Coach Gillespie wants that, and like, can you tell Coach Gillespie no? But I never worried about that. I mean, I was really happy being an assistant coach. Like I was really happy working with the people that I work with and working for him every day. Like I never wanted to I was never in a rush to speed that process up. I just wanted to like try to do a good job. And
was baseball fun again for you?
Yeah, it was. I don't think it was never, even in the minor leagues, 7 o'clock, the game was always fun. Just the other stuff became like not fun because just it didn't see like that it could matter. So it was always fun. And being back in college baseball was fun. And college baseball is just so pure. It's how my career ended by, the front office telling somebody, it ended sooner than it would have ended. College baseball, it's about team, it's about winning. These kids are 18, they're 19, they're 20. And so that was really fun. And being back on a college campus again, I mean, like I like being on a team, and even like, we were talking off air a little bit, the basketball coach now is my neighbor, and like going to watch the basketball game, go watch, like I really enjoy being on a college campus and around like this age group. And so that was really fun.
Right. It helps.
Yeah. Really fun.
So when that position's offered to you, what goes through your head?
I mean, it was weird. It was they announced it, like in February. I mean, we were getting, like, it was like a week before opening day or something. And so it was just like, the thought was, I can't remember who we were playing that opening week, getting ready, who were playing opening weekend. Like there was no, it wasn't like how it is with most places where you get hired July 1, what's happening that,
right.
it's you kind of knew that was going to happen, but it was like February 10th. And it was like, you have to practice, and then you watch a video on the team you're playing, and you try to play the team that we're playing. And so there was no like, oh crap, or okay, well now I got to do. You're just
got to move the family and pack up, and here we go.
Yeah, we were just getting ready to play, and then I think just we had a good team, and known as like Coach Gillespie's last year, and I think we knew that it was going to be his last year before the announcements. He had kind of told us, and he didn't want the attention. He wanted, probably in a perfect world for him was coach the last game of the season and then leave. He didn't want a going away party and get recognized at home plate at a bunch of, he didn't want that stuff. It was cool, and everybody did it because it meant well, and he did really appreciate it. But that's not why he didn't retire in February to get a farewell tour. Like,
sure.
And so we just really wanted to like try to have a good year for him, and we had a good year, and not good enough. And I've never been, even to this day, I want to make sure I'm not lying. I think I've been nervous one time in my life coaching. And it was Coach Gillespie's last game at UC Davis. I just remember thinking, like, we cannot lose Coach Gillespie's last game. And and as the game goes on, it's tight. And I remember thinking, if I make a bad decision at third base that cost us Coach Gillespie's last game. Like, how do you live with that forever? And so like that was the only time I ever remember being nervous as a coach, because I think our impact is like so limited on some of the games that I've played in as a player. Like I've had much higher stakes when I was playing than
Were you going to send everybody at that point? Like
I wanted
everybody's
to make sure it was right. And we lose Coach Gillespie's last game at UC Davis, and but yeah, that was the only time
at Davis of all places.
And having to get on the bus and go sit at the Sacramento airport like after losing the last game of his career, and like watching him walk off the field, and that felt like, you know, we all let him down, and that's not how it should end for him. And that's what happened.
Right. What was your biggest challenge taking over?
A lot of things. I think, getting the staff in place was a big challenge. And then I think just my life didn't change much right away. It was summer. It was time to recruit players and go. I mean, it's what I always did in the summer. So I think it was getting the staff together, and then it was you go recruit. And I remember I drove to Fresno to watch a tournament. I called every player on our roster, and that was exhausting.
What'd you tell them?
I told them that the staff was done and talked to each guy for 3 minutes. And I don't like talking on the phone or doing that type of stuff. So I remember that, and then when the season started, just kind of just trying to do it how I had a plan for what you wanted your team to look like, and just starting to instill that every day. And I think the biggest adjustment, it wasn't that. I wish I could say it wasn't that big of an adjustment. It was just I was the voice more of stuff that I always thought I was a genius assistant and should say, now you got to do it. And
now all of a sudden how brilliant are you?
Yeah. You watched enough this year to know the right answer to that. So it wasn't a massive change for me. I felt like I'd learned a lot, and but just having to be the voice and really what became the most challenging thing, and still is just managing people. As an assistant coach, your life's so easy. I don't know if our assistants think that. I didn't think that as an assistant. I thought my life was hard. Assistant coach life's so easy. It's like,
you see that now.
Yeah, coach, and that's what frustrates me a little bit, because I could have been a better assistant I could have been, knowing what I know now, I could have been a lot better assistant for Coach Gillespie.
What could you have done differently now that you're wearing this?
I couldn't tell you like an exact thing. I could have done this instead of that, but just like the understanding of what goes into the job when you have those moments of you think that you're smart as an assistant coach.
You realize
not knowing, like I know like this small little sliver of this picture, and the guy that's way smarter than you sees the whole picture, and so just how much. How much you could have realized that. And as an assistant coach, I coached like a couple infielders and stood at third base with a helmet and recruited. Like it was really easy, And now it's like just the managing of the players, the staff, the support staff, dealing with the administration, and just every day I feel like as a head coach, there's something that, I feel like everybody kind of looks to you for the answer or the decision. And that like sheer decision making about everything is like you can't prepare for that, and that's probably like the biggest change and probably the biggest challenge is that every decision comes to you on things little and small. Like you got to make decisions on, and something comes up every day that you're not prepared for that you got to like make a decision on, and that's you can't simulate that.
Yeah, it's interesting how much gets brought to the head coach when you think like, really? Can't somebody else deal with that? But it's always, what does Skip say? We'll go to the coach. What does he say? And you got to wear that now.
Yeah, for sure. And that's probably like, in all honesty, the biggest adjustment.
Do you think you could have been maybe a bit more of a buffer and like, let me take a couple things off of Mike's plate so he doesn't have to deal with it?
That was probably the thing I did best for him, and I could have done it better. But like, especially the later it got in his career, like,
I'll handle this crap.
Yeah, and it really helped get me ready for this. Was like doing a lot of that stuff because I wanted to do a good job for him, and I wanted him to like be able to coach baseball, and so it was good because I got to like take some of the bullets, for some of the stuff that maybe might get to a head coach. Like, I took pride in being able to like solve problems before he knew that there were problems. Like I never wanted to go to him with a problem. I wanted to like be able to put out the fires and do the stuff and let him like coach baseball and
that is a good assistant coach.
Yeah, no, for sure, and and it really helped me learn for this job because I was doing some of the things on a smaller level, like what I have to do right now. But it was really just about like wanting to do right by him and let him like coach baseball and not go to him with my problems. Like, so that was good.
When you're now the head coach, there's a whole difference between 18-year-old Ben and now at your age dealing with that 18-year-old. So many things have changed that if I would have told you then, you would have been like, what the hell are you talking about? The portal, the NIL, social media. Like, how much is this going to change baseball moving forward? And I know it's a big challenge for you. It's a big challenge for every coach, not baseball, every coach. How much of that is going to like disrupt the way we perceive baseball and sports in general?
Yeah, I think the jury's out. I think everybody's kind of looking to read the tea leaves right now on what exactly it's going to look like because this thing's still so new. But yeah, college baseball as we know it kind of has an opportunity, might look completely different 3-5 years ago than it does right now. I mean, it's starting to mirror, closer to professional athletics than college sports right now with the transfer portal, with NIL money, with just the recruiting and the the agents and advisors and these third parties that you got to be in with to recruit the player on the front end and now recruit them on the back end, and even your current players recruit your current players. The draft moving from early June to middle of July. The minor leagues.
Do you like that, the draft moving?
No, I hate it. I think I don't. There's people smarter than me that could maybe explain the positives, but I think it's certainly harder for us to manage our rosters.
I did think it was a distraction. I remember sitting around. It was your era, right? 2009. Christian Colon, Gary Brown. We're in a super regional getting ready, and they're like, "Oh, I got drafted in the first round. Oh, I got drafted in the second round." It's like we got a game in an hour. And they're getting calls for that stuff.
Yeah, I got drafted in study table at LSU. Right. But yeah, I think that standpoint's better.
Did you study well after that phone call?
Yeah, probably.
Ninth round? Are you kidding me?
I think that was the 19th round that year.
Sorry.
But I think the solution to that, and I agree, it's a distraction. I mean, is have it on Wednesday and Thursday. Okay. Have it on Tuesday and Wednesday. For right now, with the drafts July 17th through the 19th this year, I mean, you're not going to know about some of these guys until, July 17th. And it's scholarship renewals got to get sent out by July 1. And, how late can you get guys into school? And that finally, and we're lucky, we're at the quarter system, so we got one more month on the back end. But all that stuff makes it, like, so much harder. And even for these kids, like, these guys get drafted and sign, and they're supposed to go play in short season. They played their last game March 25th, and now they got to go play on August 1st. Like, it's that transition doesn't seem as good.
Is that Major League Baseball not talking to college baseball?
I don't know.
Or is that an FU?
I'm not sure. I don't think it's an FU, but I don't think it. I don't know. I'm not. I don't sit in any of those conversations.
Well, damn it, let's get you on that committee.
But I think it's tough for the scouts because they're finishing up like this year watching the 2022s, but like this summer they're watching the 2023s, but they still got to do follow up on the 2022s and know where they're at and signability, and so it's tough for a lot of people right now. And so the answer to your question is it's really tough right now to kind of see where college baseball is going and kind of like. Like to be on the front end of what's going to happen and not on the back end, and it's tough right now.
What about that damn transfer portal? That's something that's bonkers. I mean, can you imagine that as a player when you were playing? How many guys here could have come and gone, or you could have brought and taken? Like, are you guys maybe never number one because all of a sudden an LSU, an Arizona, a Stanford comes in and goes pick. I mean that's such a scary thing to happen now.
Yeah, it's a concern for sure.
We don't want college baseball to come to minor leagues where the Power Five are picking off players.
No, and I don't think the transfer portal is all bad. I think, and we've got players on our roster and have always had that the first school they went to didn't work out great, and the second one did. And so I don't think we can sit here and say it's all bad. Now I think what you describe. Certainly if there's tampering and recruiting people on other people's rosters or, people scared of sending their guys out to summer ball because they might get recruited to go play somewhere else.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I don't think the positives of the transfer portal. I think in terms of like, for kids now, yeah, they have the opportunity to play at school X this year and school Y next year if they want. If they view the other one better, that now that they can leave, I think it's just constantly recruiting your players now, and I think that you want same thing when you're recruiting out of high school or junior college or the transfer portal now. You want them to come to your school because this is what it is, and what your school's about is what they care about.
Right.
And you hope that's why they come here. You hope that's why they stay here, and that won't be everybody. And some of them will leave, and unfortunately, it could be better for them, or it could be worse. And
I'm scared to death. I don't see a Big West team in the College World Series again because of the portal.
I think the transfer portal is an issue for our conference for sure. I think there's other things that are I'm scared of more in the Big West than the transfer portal. But the transfer,
Tell me, what's that monster you're scared of?
I just think what's happened to our conference, just in terms of it virtually becoming a 1-bid league or maybe a 2-bid league.
Yeah.
That's what scares me the most. And now transfer portal can certainly play into that if good players leave.
Right.
So that can certainly play into it. But this conference, the kind of after what this conference has done, the lack of, I don't know if respect or how the RPI formula helps our or impacts our conference not getting in good years. This conference should get multiple teams to the postseason, and I think the history of this conference has shown, and I think it still will be proven that the good teams in this conference they can go win a regional.
Right. I mean, you remember this. You were a kid probably watching on TV when this conference had two number one seeds coming out with Long Beach and Fullerton both hosting in 03. I mean 04. Like, those are unbelievable. To get that now, it doesn't happen. We're lucky if we get two teams, not two hosting teams.
Yeah, and part of that is self-inflicted wounds by the teams in our conference that could do better or schedule better or win more.
Scheduling better is huge.
Yeah, and it's that's a twofold question because scheduling better.
I know that was a battle for Dave when he was at Fullerton. He always wanted to bring LSU in, but they'd be like, "Nah, we don't want to," or trying to get a team in, and they'd be like, "No, not our thing. Maybe we'll come to your place once. You got to come to our place twice."
Yeah, the scheduling better thing is interesting, just in terms of how we would define better. Because the way the schedules work in baseball is, we're stupid, right? We're scheduling 3, 4, 5 years out.
Right.
And so how do you know that Texas is going to be good in 4 years when you play them?
Right.
Or that they're going to stay healthy and not get a bunch of injuries and have an off year because guys get hurt. And so that, so I think the scheduling thing, it's scheduling better in terms of playing really good teams and going on the road like the Fullertons and the Long Beaches, kind of like what we've done recently, what Cal Poly's done a little bit.
Does name brand teams help?
Well, so there's scheduling better in terms of good teams, Power 5 teams, ranked teams. But then there's this RPI thing, and the RPI is not necessarily better. The way the RPI works is 50% of your RPI is your opponent win-loss. 25% is your win-loss, 25% is opponents. And so that's how you calculate RPI. And so I think the misconception is, we played this team. They got a 30 RPI. That's a good opponent. But 50% of your RPI being your opponent win-loss, if you play somebody that wins 40 games, that their win-loss matters more than their RPI when it comes to your RPI.
Yeah.
Now, the selection committee, they might look at better as, this team went to Texas and won twice. And so it's like the better thing, and even as a conference, like what's better for our conference? Is it better that the conference all goes and plays Texas and Vanderbilt and Oklahoma State? Or is it better for the conference if everybody, and I don't know who the teams are that you schedule and you just win, but is it better if everybody in the conference schedules as light as they possibly can so they all win more games, so that opponent win-loss record is all higher? I think 2021, 5 teams on the West won 40 games in the 5 conferences in the West. In the SEC last year, it was either 7 or 8 SEC teams won 40 games. So every weekend in conference when they're playing each other, you're playing another 40-win team. And so regardless of the outcome, your RPI is going to be good.
Right.
Every week in our conference, we're playing a team that's got between 22 and 32 wins as a whole.
Maybe 4.
Yeah, and so that impacts.
I'm not naming anybody, but you know who you are.
That impacts.
I'll do it.
That impacts.
You're the coach. I'll do it, Ben. Those teams are garbage.
That impacts, your RPI when you're playing a really good Cal Poly team, and they're 34 and 20.
Right.
And they're really good. You're playing a really good, Long Beach State team who, this year, they're 29 and 28, but they're good. They're 29 and 28. Where it's, you're the SEC, you're playing somebody that's good, that's got 42 wins. And so you're kind of limited on what your RPI can get to. And so that's kind of a long answer. Scheduling better. There's 2 different ways what better looks like.
Right.
There is a difference between RPI and winning percentage, and they are correlated, but they're not the same.
Well, it used to be 90s, 80s, or 2000s. Miami never left Florida and would be like 52 and 8, get their ass handed to them in a regional. Arizona State was the same way. Pat would stay in Arizona. They'd go 49 and whatever. Never make it out of a super regional. It's like, you got to go play somebody. And a lot of teams don't go play. It's not like basketball where you see Duke playing Syracuse, or like the big teams play each other. Why is that not happening in college baseball where the Power 10 are playing each other in tournaments?
Yeah, I can't speak for those people. I have some educated guesses, but
educate me, Ben. Educate me.
No. I think a lot of people, I think there's different ways that people believe in scheduling. I think, you can, the Hookie, Coach Hortons of the world, Hookie's philosophy on scheduling, and this I do know because he's told me, is he wants to go challenge his team as much as he can challenge his team in the non-conference, go play on the road, go play the best teams he can possibly play. He cares more about that than his record at the end of 15 games, and he thinks that that's really going to prepare his team for the Big West Conference and for the postseason. So that's an example of how Hookie's scheduled. And then the other philosophy on scheduling is, okay, I'm going to try to schedule the most wins that I can get on my schedule. And so
to build confidence.
Or whatever the reason is.
Right.
But I'm scheduling to build wins. And so I think, those are the 2, I don't want to say extremes, but everybody falls somewhere between those 2.
Right.
And so I think because of that, it's hard to get, sometimes the people. Yeah, and I think some of those teams, if you're LSU, if you're Texas, and you're going to get 12,000 fans and you're going to make money on a weekend, like, why are you going to get on the road and travel to Pepperdine? Like, it's going to cost you money, like, you know, and that fan base, and I'm sure there's pressure to play at home, and why would you?
What about tournaments? Why aren't there great college baseball tournaments that they have, like, the Nike Extravaganza, or, featuring Georgetown, Duke, and whatever, but in college, but we don't have that great college baseball.
Yeah, I don't think there's not enough of it, and there's some, right? They always do the Clark LeClaire down at East Carolina.
Yeah. I know they try that one in Dodger Stadium every once in a while.
Yeah, the Tony Gwynn Classic in different years has been, varying degrees of good. A couple of years ago, they tried to do they did do a Big Ten, Pac-12 thing at Minnesota in the football dome. UCLA went, Arizona went. So there's some of those, but there's not a lot. I don't know the reason.
Would you like to see it? Or the hell with that, you want to spend your weekend at, Lawrence, Kansas?
I don't dislike tournaments. We're going to one next year.
There you go.
But I think the tournaments. I really like, and as a Coach Gillespie thing, I really like the home and homes of playing people that will come to you and you'll go to them. I think that's no money changes hands. I think that's cool. I think that's how you kind of grow the sport on your campus, by getting Oregon State to come in here, or Minnesota to come in here, or TCU to come in here, and you return the trip. We're lucky that we're funded enough that we don't have to take money by playing guarantee games to meet our budget. So we don't have to. We're lucky enough we don't have to do that. The tournaments are tough. Just the amount of work that goes in, like preparing for 3 different teams. There's a lot of work that goes into it during the week. The tournaments maybe prepares you for a regional, but every other thing in college baseball, it's a weekend series against one opponent. So maybe that's why, but those are just guesses.
Yeah, I saw one in Houston, and it was like, Texas Tech, Baylor, Washington.
Yeah, UCLA was in that this year. My senior year, we played in that Minute Maid Classic. Same tournament. And it was great. It was fun. But yeah, I think more of those could be good for the game, and you get some of these conferences to partner up. I'd love it if the 2 teams from the Big West played 2 teams from the Big 12. We played it at wherever,
right?
Or something. I think like that'd be cool.
How much money would Ben be making in his NIL deal in 2006? How much were you raking in?
Nothing. Nothing.
You mean Gold's Gym wouldn't have sponsored you, or
No.
or
No. I'd have.
you'd be owing people money?
I'm the opposite of anything that's going to be an influencer for anything. So, I would not be one of the people benefiting from that. I promise you.
Oh, come on!
No.
The great shortstop with the great moves and lay down a bunt all over the place.
Yeah, sack bunt sound like good NIL deals.
Hey.
I certainly could have got a car for that.
Yeah, absolutely. The Kia sack bunt brought to you by Ben Orloff.
Yeah. No NIL deals for me.
What is your leadership kind of, program? How do you like to build leadership within baseball to get guys to kind of go along with your style? Because leadership's really important. And I've seen a lot of coaches lose teams with bad leadership and build teams up with good leadership.
Yeah, I think that's hard. I think it's really, really hard, and I think it's certainly hard to quantify. I think the things to me that may or may not answer your question. I think one of the first things is, leadership doesn't have a age requirement. I think that's huge, especially with a group. You're not a leader because you've had more birthdays than somebody else. That doesn't make you a leader. I think what makes you a leader is somebody that does things right all the time and is dependable, it's trustworthy, and that puts team over self. I think that's like what makes somebody a leader. And I think there's all these different ways that people lead. I don't really believe in captains. I think captains I think inherently there's guys know who captains are and who they're not. I think the captain thing kind of might put some unneeded or wanted pressure on somebody. I think a captain thing could make somebody try to act like something that they're not. I think a big part of leadership for me is being who you are and being that person all the time. And being accountable for stuff when it's not right and it can be better. And you hope that, I think it's the hardest thing for kids these days. And I'm 35. It's hard for me is holding other people to high standards, of making them do it right. I think Coach Saban has a really great definition of discipline that kind of falls into this leadership thing. I think he said, it's over here you have, I know what I'm not supposed to do. I want to do it. Can I make myself not do it? And here's what I don't want to do. Can I make myself do it? And I think when you have those types of characteristics, I think you can have this leadership thing. But I think I'm not a fan of buzzwords, and so I think these things all got to have definitions. And I think this leadership thing's really hard to have this is what leadership looks like. This is the definition of leadership. But I think it encapsulates some of those things, and I think the ability to do what's best for the team, even when it's not best for you. And I think those are some of the things.
Is your coaching style more a bit of Dave and a bit of Mike, or is it a bit of Ben? Where do you kind of fall on a barometer of what you've picked up over your career?
I don't know. I really try hard. I don't try hard. I really just know that I just have to be myself. And I don't know where on the spectrum of, Coach Serrano or Coach Gillespie that falls.
Right. Those are your baseball.
It's neither, yeah. And I think it was really, as hard as it was to have the coaching transition, it was really beneficial to me to see. I played for 2 different head coaches who did things completely different, and they were both really great at what they do. And so in our coaching philosophy or things we do on the field, there's some things that's we got that from Coach Gillespie, or I got that from Coach Serrano or Sergio or Berge. And so I think that falls more into how the game's played or how the game's taught. I think in terms of how the program's run, I try to do it as good as I can do it. And part of that is from watching those, but I just try to do it as good as I can do it, knowing that, I'm 35 and I've done it for 4 years, and it's probably never been more evident than this year, like how much better I can do it and need to do it to be better at it.
I love your coaching style. It's what caught my eye, the way you're handling like this younger generation. It's very even keel, and I think that's kind of maybe what they need. I'm not sure if they need a screamer or a rah-rah guy, but I can never tell when you're 4 down and 4 up. And I absolutely love, selfishly, I love your post speeches. I wish they could be about 5 minutes longer just so I can make more pictures of you.
No, Coach.
But I love that they're only 30 seconds in and out. Boom.
Yeah, Coach Turner told me. He told me recently that when he coached for Don Nelson, he said Don Nelson thinks those talks should be less than a shot clock. I think the.
Well, you're not lighting anybody up. I've been in those where people just get blown up.
I think part of what you said. I think just the even keel. I mean, I think that's just who I am. I don't really. It's not really by design. I don't really get emotional. Like I don't really have emotions.
I can tell by this podcast.
Yeah. And so
you got the sneaky smile. That's about all you've got as emotion. When I can see like there's something good goes over, especially this year because you don't have to wear that damn mask.
The mask was good.
Yeah, so I could see you. A little smile appears.
No, but I think as a coach, like it's my job's not to like pitch or hit. It's about like making good decisions for like the team, and I heard Phil Jackson say it, right. I mean, he's the Zen master. Right? He used to take his pulse during games to make sure that his pulse was under 100, and I think that
he would
to be able to make good decisions. Yeah. And I think that I heard that, and but I think that's just in my nature. That's just who I am. I don't get really excited or really sad.
No, you're very
really
cool.
Mad. And I think that's. I don't really have to like focus on that. That's just who I am. But I know, my hope is that that's the impact that like the players see is just the consistency and that like, especially the bigger the moment that it's just like that. If I'm rattled, certainly they have to be rattled. And so I want to be even keeled. And this game is just so hard. It's not basketball. It's not football. It's so long. So much of it is played like between the ears, and it's about like quality decision making. And
is that what you're looking for when you're recruiting?
It's hard to find that when you're recruiting. I mean, it's really hard to find that when you're recruiting. But I think I'll get back to that. But I think I wear a Fitbit, and I don't get like text or nothing on that one. And I like it. She'll show the heart rate thing at times, and I kind of like to play a game with myself where I try to see like. Especially like ninth inning, it's close. So I'll like glance out, be like, how low can I get? How low can I get it?
You don't want to be a diabetic where someone's got to feed you sugar.
No, but like in the moment, can you get in the ninth inning with base loaded? Like, can you, if I can have my heart rate like at 85, it's like, oh, that's pretty good in this moment to be like think clearly and make a good decision, because that's what my job is. It's about making decisions.
You're a decision maker, right?
Yeah. And so I think that, and I think again, hopefully the projection of the players is like, we're good. Like if Ben's not rattled or nervous or sad or happy, like we're just play, because I think, one of the, you've been around baseball a long, long time, is right. Next pitch, and that's it's a cliche saying, but I think, for us, like mental toughness is, our kids define it and they know the definition. It's like, it's the ability to do like the right thing regardless of the situation. That right. Like hot, cold, like that I can really play the next pitch and really focus on that. And if you're emotional, it's hard to do that. I think in terms of like post-game talk, I mean, I've played long enough to know that, when we play a 6 o'clock home game, I mean, we meet at 2:30 as a team. The guys have all been here by at least 1:30, that the game's done at 9 o'clock, that like, everybody wants to go home. Like nobody wants to listen to the coach. Right. And if you have something that you want to tell them, they're not listening. I mean, they've been there for 8 hours. Like
they've heard you,
or they don't have any capacity. I mean, they want to go home. Like their parents are waiting for them. Their girlfriends are waiting for them. And so we talk the next day. We talk the next day. I mean, I'm not a good post-game talker, speaker.
Do you need to digest?
Yeah. I mean,
the game?
I write a lot. I write a lot during the game, and I want to be right as I see it in what I tell them. I don't want
it to be emotional.
Yeah, I want to be
comments.
right.
Yeah,
I want to be right in what I tell them. And the game ends. You go shake the other coach's hands. If you know the guy, maybe you say something besides just see you tomorrow, and then you don't walk with I don't walk with some people do. I don't walk with my clipboard to home plate to shake the other guy's hand and walk with my clipboard out to the outfield and going to read through everything that I wrote down the last 3 hours. And
sit down, boys. Here we go.
Yeah,
because I've been out there for 5,
yeah, me
10,
too, and
minutes.
that's not fun. We spend a lot of time the next day, and I think we spend a lot of time that people don't see to cover stuff. I believe when we're on the field, like we play, and there's coaching going on for sure, but we spend a lot of time, upstairs, and I try to coach, I think with like voice and video, and we film everything, and I like showing the guys, and we're very, I don't yell and scream, mostly because that's my personality, but I just know, from dealing with other people or seeing it, like lots of times my opinion is like when the voices get raised, people just listen to the tone and they can't hear the words.
Right.
Whether it's true or not, that's how I believe it to be. And so I don't really if I yell, they're not actually going to be listening to what I'm telling them. And so sometimes you need to for effect, but I think, the video, we do a lot of video, and I'm very critical of our players, very critical of them. But a lot of it we try to show them with video of like, this is why this is why I'm frustrated. This is why we lose. This is what's going to get us beat. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard for the players for sure. When you're 18 years old, you're 20 years old, I'm 35, it'd be to put me on video and show me doing something bad. Like that's hard. And I think that's a different type of, where guys getting yelled at, that's hard on them. But I think it's a really good teaching tool, and I think that we do it every day. And I think, I try to go to lengths, and it doesn't always hit, that to explain to our guys, there's a difference between like coaching and criticism. Like, we're coaching you to get you better. And like, that's nobody's, I'm not going to come out here and yell at a guy because I had a bad breakfast, and so but it takes thick skin to be able to like to get coached the way that we coach people, and but I think it's necessary for getting better, and that when they can see it on video, it's not something that we're making up, that and I think it works really good when your best players want to get coached, and that's we've had that here in varying degrees and varying years, and when you can get on your best player, we had Mike Peabody here last year, the conference player of the year. He really made us better in a lot of areas. And, I could show in our classroom, I could show Mike Peabody not running out a ball hard, and you would look at him, and I'd rewind and I'd play it again, and I'd rewind it and play it again, and pull out the stopwatch and play it again. And he's sitting there and he's like nodding his head, where I think like, that's uncommon. I think most guys, coach is a jerk. And I think when you have guys like that,
don't embarrass me.
Yeah, it's that the coach is right, and I think when guys like that, he goes downstairs to the clubhouse and he's not complaining about the coach being a jerk, and he's playing hard. Right. Or you can show him,
I won't do that again.
You can show him throwing to the wrong base, and he knows you're not picking on him. He knows you're coaching him. And so I think that's where we try to do a lot of the construction, the coaching. And that's why after a game, it's everybody wants to go home, and but that's kind of my how I try to act, and a lot of that's just who I am, but I think there's a method behind it, and I think we spend a lot of time really trying to educate the players, because I'm a firm believer in the smart teams win. The games are the games, again, I quote people because I'm not smart enough. Nick Saban says every game comes down to 6 or 7 plays, and the problem is you don't know when they're going to come up. In baseball, it's 3 hours, and there's so many critical decisions that happen in split seconds.
Isn't that crazy?
And you got to be prepared for all of it. Since I've been coaching, I haven't done the numbers yet for this year. Coming into this year, I think I'd coached 420 games in college. I think 40% of them had been decided by 1 or 2 runs. And so it's like 1 or 2 run games are turned on any pitch. Mm-hmm. And so the attention to detail, the focus, the ability to play the next pitch, is so huge, and you need smart kids that can handle that. So we try to spend a lot of time covering that, because the games, the players win games. I'm certainly smart enough to know that. And during the games, I have a stopwatch, I have a clipboard, I have a pencil. Like, players win games, and they need to be like really equipped to make those critical decisions under duress, and that's really hard. And I think that's why the teaching end on the front end's got to be really good. And I think the debriefing of games has to be like more than, Matt threw a ball away. That's why we lost.
Right.
We're certainly not going to play him tomorrow.
Yeah. Not going to happen.
Yeah, and that's I don't think that helps us win tomorrow.
All right. How is the recruiting process today with all the distractions, the things that players want? Is it more of a challenge than it ever was when you started as an assistant coach?
I think it's just different. I don't think it's harder or easier, better or worse. I think it's just different.
Different how?
I think there's less secrets. I mean, so much stuff's on social media. Sometimes like you're on a guy that you think people don't know about, and there's a tweet, and then everybody knows about him. So that maybe makes it harder. But you find out about guys that way too. I don't think we've changed a lot in how we do things, or I think recruiting, it starts with, I don't know if it starts with, you need to have a good network and people that you know that can help you identify players and tell you what they are. But I think the most important part is getting out and working. I mean, it starts by working. If any of us go to a game and Mike Trout's playing, he's good. But you got to be at the game to see Mike Trout play to know that he's good. I think recruiting is like some of these other things that if you're willing to outwork people, you can find good players.
Yeah.
And so I think that's never changed. And I think the pitch for us is, where we work is you get a top 10 public education in the country. You have to live in Newport Beach, California. You can play on, one of the best surfaces in the country for a team that, in the good years is competing to go to Omaha, and you can get drafted and go play in the big leagues. And it's like, that's what, if that's what the pitch is. And if you need, if you need a football team, if you need Power 5, if you need that other stuff, and you think the bigger cafeteria is going to determine a better college experience, like, don't come here. If don't come. And I tell them, I tell kids, if you need football, please don't come here. And right. I tell them up front, like, this is how I am. Like, this is, I'm not a good fit for everybody. UC Irvine's not a good fit for everybody. Like, this is what it is. Like, if this is not a good fit, like, please don't come.
Right.
Please don't come.
Because it's more of a problem for you and for me.
Yeah, it won't work. You won't be happy. And we try to go through the vetting process as much as we can, which is really, really hard to know what they are. And Coach Gillespie used to always say, you never know what you have in a player until he's on campus day after day after day after day. And so, the makeup, it's so hard to get that part right. And you don't really know until you get him day after day after day after day. Because the biggest change is the process is sped up so much. I mean, there's 14 and 15 year olds committing.
Right,
you got to know. You feel like you got to know about. That's what's changed, and we don't do much of that. So they commit to other places, and I'm not spending a lot of time FaceTiming 14-year-olds. So that's good.
If you can make one change in college baseball, they come to you and say, "Boom, you've got the power." What are you making? What's that change?
In college baseball or recruiting?
Yeah, college baseball. Is it bats? Is it rules? No. Is it travel? Everybody has to play in slippers. Like, what's the...
God, that's a good question. I don't know the one thing that I changed. It's such a great sport, and we were all watching it last week, and it's such a great sport. I think if they had more, I've been brainwashed by Coach Gillespie, which is a good thing.
You want more games?
No, yeah, more games would be great. But it's with our schedule, the timeline of it, it fits good. I mean, certainly we'd like. I think this schedule is good. I think if they had coaches, real coaches, I thought it'd be a great thing for like retired coaches, guys like Coach Gillespie, to get them on that rules committee, and just kind of help some of the rules of the game. I think some of the rules that have came into the game aren't necessarily good for the game. They're not necessarily detrimental, but.
What about that additional paid assistant coach that failed a couple of years ago?
Yeah, that'd be great. I think get more people in this industry to let them get their start. I think that'd be a great. I mean, that's your answer is better than mine. I'll take that one. Yeah, I think more coaches is good. We got the worst player to coach ratio.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and so I think that additional coaches would be great. So that's my answer. Thanks.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. If I was coach for a day, I'd give.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you mentioned recruiting. What would you change in recruiting?
That genie's not going back in the bottle, and my opinion on that doesn't matter.
You're king for the day. Shove that genie back in the bottle. What was it? What's gotten away?
No, I just think I don't think. I know back in the old days. I Coach Gillespie, some of these people talking about like watching the area code games and those kids are uncommitted, and I think just that the better decisions would be made, the later the process was. Better decisions would be made by the kids and by the coaches. The families would make better decisions. Now, I don't even know if that's possible in 2022. But it'd be, and even with this transfer portal thing, like we're going through it now, like I really enjoy speaking with 22-year-olds who have been at a school, who've performed, who have won. Like those conversations when you're trying to recruit a 22-year-old that's played 4 years at school X, like those conversations are so much more enjoyable for me than the conversations with most 15-year-old kids and what we're talking about as I'm talking about my school, you know? And so I really enjoy those conversations. And I think the more that recruiting was backed up, that you were recruiting older kids, that stuff would be more enjoyable than like some of the stuff that we're all, we all do because we're competitive. And so that'd be nice.
Right. Let's go back in the time machine and say you've got to evaluate Ben now as a coach. You're recruiting him. What does he look like? What does Ben Orloff look like as a senior in high school? What rating do you give Ben Orloff?
I'm a 5'10", 140-pound tryhard. A guy that's lacking talent, that's not physical, with a below-average arm and a average runner and catches the ball okay, and it looks like he plays hard. That's what I was. I learned. My dad knows baseball, obviously enjoys baseball. The one thing that he taught us was, everywhere you go, sprint. And so I think I just sprint to go play defense, sprint to come into the dugout. I think that caught people's attention, but I probably wouldn't recruit myself, and that's probably why we're not, and it's hard. And, but physically, I don't think there was anything really about me that,
it's got to be hard to find a Ben Orloff because you got to trust the kid. You got to look deep, right?
It's just not me. It's just
Sergio saw something.
Yeah,
he related to Dave.
Yeah, get him on your podcast.
I'm gonna, but he's found a lot of those guys.
Yeah, I think I just think it goes to not about me, but just the recruiting process is so full. We don't have the time to make the decisions, and you don't know. Right, we see it in the NFL all the time, right? Tom Brady's the example of like, this guy went to college for 5 years and they drafted him where they drafted him. And us college baseball coaches got to pick him at 16.
Right.
And, and even the Major League Baseball draft, they're picking them, they're picking the best of the best, and they don't get it right very often.
And they still screw it up, right?
And so the amount that we're going to get it right is so rare. And you just don't know what kids are going to be at, like when they're 20, 21, 22, and so much of it you can't see. And just I think the talent discrepancy between players and teams is not that great. And a lot of it's about this, the fancy words, makeup and intangibles, and who's going to get better, who does it really matter to. And it's really hard to evaluate that on, Field 5 in Goodyear, Arizona.
Right.
And this kid's got 3 offers, and you got to make a decision on them or you're going to lose them. So are you good losing them, or are you going to try to get in them? And you've seen them 3 times and you've had them on campus. But I always tell kids, like, the campus visits, you try to look for clues, but as a coach or as a kid, I think it's really hard to like mess up a campus visit. Like I think very few people leave any school on a visit and go, wow, I hate that place.
Yeah, that's garbage.
Or it's like very rare when a kid and his parents are there and you're with them for an hour and a half. Man, what a terrible kid. What a terrible, it's in an hour and a half, like.
Right. Everybody's on their best behavior.
Yeah, so it's really hard to get that. So there's just so many misses and you just don't know. And, you just don't know.
What would you be doing if you're not coaching?
Can I say playing?
Yeah.
I'd be playing. I'd be playing or coaching. I don't know anything else. I'm not good at anything else.
So you're 35 years old playing in the minor leagues right now?
I don't know if I'd be good enough anymore. I don't know what I'd be. If I wasn't coaching, I don't know what I'd be doing. I'd be I'd be coaching for no money. I don't know anything besides baseball. I don't.
You be at your dad's house throwing a ball against the garage door, beating it up.
Yeah, I don't.
How much do you love this game?
Yeah, it's been my life. It's all I've ever done. It's kind of how I've kind of found my place in the world and been able to have all my friends through this game. And it's been, the game's been everything to me. And I don't know if that's a cool thing or a sad thing. But it's been everything. I don't really have hobbies. I don't golf. I don't fish. I don't hunt. I don't do that. I just never done it. I like baseball. And it's what I enjoy doing.
Why do I see you putting on a wig and a mustache and playing rec ball at some place at a park in the Inland Valley so nobody knows you?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. There's things that I like. I like where I live and I can drive and see the beach. But it's like I like baseball, and even I like when I was a player. Like I liked hitting in the cage by myself after practice. Like as a coach, I like recruiting. I like talking to kids and getting to know them. I like looking at our roster and seeing how we can get it better. I like watching video of us playing this year. Other guys, like I enjoy that. Right. I think I enjoy that. Like I think how I imagine other people like golf. Like that's how I enjoy it. And so,
if I took you to a Dodger game and they're playing team whatever, could you enjoy the game, or are you sitting there?
No.
Oh God!
I mean, your listeners can't see the moves that you're making with your hands or your face.
Well, are you trying to steal third?
I'm watching. I mean, I enjoy the game, but
okay.
The college game interests me more, the style of play more than the pro game. I mean, I kind of get bored.
It's different, yes.
I kind of get bored watching the big league games, and I don't like all the people and I want to watch the game. I don't want the people walking back and getting their popcorn and their beer. You can't see, and I don't that.
Why are you 35 going on 86?
But when I go to the games, I'll watch. I watch the third base coach give signs. I watch when they're
running. Are you stealing them?
No, I'm not good at that. I watch when the guy gets on first base, the guy give the signs. I like watching that type of stuff. But I mean, I would film some of that stuff and send it to our players. Like during the regionals, I'll rewind and film something and send it to myself and save it and put it into a file. To try to make us better. And so I would enjoy it. But the same thing, I go watch travel ball games, high school games. Like I'm watching the coaches and I'm trying to see what they do, and especially some of the good ones. That's enjoyable for me to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that files thing. I mean that's a real thing. There's a good website called Baseball Savant, and every pitch, there's a video attached to every pitch all year in the big leagues. And so I used to watch. I don't watch much Major League Baseball when we're in season. I'll watch more now that we're out of season. But I'd watch games with my notes section, my phone open, and some play would come up, and I'd mark it, Matt Brown, top of the fifth, single to left, and then go to Baseball Savant, find it, save it into a file to use it to show our players about something. Yeah, and so it's because I'm only 35 and I've only coached for 9 years, and so I've got such a disadvantage of some of the other guys that have coached longer in terms of seeing the situations more. Mm-hmm. And so it's I'm trying to speed up that development for me by seeing more and putting myself in those positions to I'm competing with Coach Gillespie, who's seen the situation for 50 years, and it's
1,000 times.
Yeah, and you're competitive, and so trying to speed up that process.
Right. I can't thank you enough for your time, taking the time machine, going back and learning about Ben, and I love your style. If I had a kid that was playing baseball, I'd definitely have him come to Irvine.
That's the most important thing you've said the whole time, especially if he's really good.
He is really good, but he happens to play the discus and shot put, so that doesn't do you any good.
No, I appreciate having me. It was fun.
Yeah, no, you're Irvine's blessed to have you. It's a shame you don't really enjoy baseball very much, and it's literally in your blood, but you have been a pleasure to watch during your playing time, and now that I get to shoot you as a head coach, I had the pleasure, with your brother when he was at Fullerton, and your dad. He's so shy; he never talks about either one of you guys. He's the best.
No, I appreciate you, Matt. I think this was the first year that really I've got to be around you as much as I have this year. Obviously, knowing what you do and seeing you from a distance, and it's been really cool to have you around the team and in the dugout. Somebody that's seen all the things that you've seen and got to experience all that. So it's been really cool that you're around here now, and look forward to seeing you a lot more. And this was fun.
All right, there's one thing we got to change. We got to get you some better photos in this office. This is killing me.
Hey, we're knocking this place down and going to get a brand new one, and you can be the first donor.
When are we knocking it down? The next couple of days?
As soon as your check clears.
Because I am getting you some new photos. We're keeping that one. from Omaha. We'll
Hey,
keep that one.
hey,
That one's okay.
Hey, I really, I hesitate to do much here. I still most days feel like I'm renting this office from Coach Gillespie, and so this is kind of how he had it, and so it's like plenty good enough for me, and so.
Well, I think Mike would be okay if we changed a couple of the photos.
Hey, he would be telling you that you should be the first check to help us start getting this
I'll
thing
do
moving.
it. I will do it. I am getting you new photos.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Matt.
You're the man, Ben. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to my conversation with Ben Orloff. If you enjoyed this episode, please click the like button and become a subscriber to the podcast. Remember, you can follow the Just a Good Conversation podcast on Instagram, and you can find all of our past shows on the website at justagoodconversation.com. Thank you for listening.